them as well. What a move for the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
Hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the midway point, round 3 of 5 of the 2026 Motorsport UK Esports Rookie Sportscar Cup, as brought to you by MSUK, powered by the Sim Racing Collective, and supported by official prize partners Simagic and Phil. That's right, it's time for our third round, and as we transition into the second half of the season with this round, where exactly have we made our way to today? Well, we have made our way from Norway to Germany for the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, a circuit perhaps lesser known when you have the likes of the Hockenheim Ring and the Saxon Ring, but it is a circuit not to be underestimated. And its core, a 2.29 mile course, where it's all about fast flying bends, limited elevation change, and extended sweeping corners. And it all together, it's going to be about smoothness and the ability to manage direction change that is going to prove the difference between being up front and in the pack fighting. And for our guys, it's going to present a little bit of a similar, but at the same time slightly different test compared to Ridskogen Motor Centre only a week ago. Ridskogen overtaking was challenging. Here, overtaking is still a challenge, although you've got a bit more road width and plenty more corners on which to go on the attack, and it makes it a perfect venue for our rookies to do battle here today. Alas, where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you all to this live broadcast from Circuit Side as you tune in tonight, catching all the racing action on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing, and this broadcast being available on free platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly, of course, you can catch this on the Motorsport UK Esports YouTube channel, and indeed, if you're tuning in via YouTube on the MS UK YouTube channel, hello to you guys and girls tuning in there. Alternatively, you may be more Twitch inclined, and that's at twitch.tv/Motorsport UK Esports, and hello to you guys and girls tuning in via the Motorsport UK Twitch channel. But of course, we also do have another broadcast format available on YouTube, and that's the Sim Racing Collective YouTube channel as well, and hello to you guys and girls tuning in there. But regardless of what platform you tune in via, well, your broadcast is going to be the same, and in the commentary booth and hosting your broadcast, it's none other than myself. For the uninitiated, my name is Paul Walsh, and I'll be covering all your racing throughout the entirety of the season. Now, for those of you familiar with the format, you'll know, of course, that this is not just the Rookie Sportscar Championship, but also what we do get to see is the support series, the Sim Racing Collective Hot Hatch Trophy, and that's what begins each and every broadcast. So therefore, we're going to be laying the rubber down in our Clio Cup cars before making our way into our Rookie Sportscar Cup with the Mazda MX-5s. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's regale you with the schedule for the purposes here today. Because as we can see, here is our broadcast schedule, and we're getting underway with qualifying already in the Hot Hatch Trophy. And after that, we'll be making our way to the grid for the first of races this evening. It will be the 30-minute race for Hot Hatches, as brought to you by the Sim Racing Collective, after which we'll be taking a brief breather, but not without some interviews with our Hot Hatch drivers. And then at approximately 8 o'clock this evening, all these times at UK time, we should point out, we will be going into the qualifying session for the Rookie Sportscar Cup, their third round of the season. That'll be 10 minutes in duration, and then we'll have our 2 races back-to-back. Of course, both of them 20 minutes in duration. The first at 8:15, after which we'll then invert part of the grid, and we will be going racing once again at 20 to 9 for our Rookie Sportscar Cup, after which we'll be bringing some interviews before closing out today's broadcast. So a packed schedule as always, and just to remind you of the calendar for this season. And as we can see there, we are at the midway point, 5 rounds. We're in round number 3, and we've been to Snetterton, we've been to Rookie, and now we are here at Oschersleben. And of course, all these circuits readily available on iRacing, all part of the basic subscription package. And therefore, we try to keep it as cost effective for our drivers as possible, so that way they can enjoy these cars to the maximum. And what a variety of circuits we have had thus far, and Oschersleben is no exception. But to remind you a little bit about Oschersleben, in terms of those of you who are perhaps not familiar with the circuit, or those of you who have known the circuit, a little bit more about it. Well, here we can see it all diagrammatically laid out, located near the town of Oschersleben in the German state of Saxe-Anhalt. It is a circuit that is more commonly known for touring car racing and once hosted the World Touring Car Championship, the WTCC, from I do believe 2008 to 2012. Why has it been such a popular circuit in the past? Well, beyond the statement made by John Clennon about turn number 1, which I cannot repeat on this broadcast due to what is keeping this child friendly, well, it is a circuit whereby it's all about the technical ability and the fact that you have sweeping bends, very little elevation change, but you don't just have sweepers, you also have the occasional chicane, including turns 8 through to 10 at McDonald's, and also the shell curve into Aran curve at turns 11 and 12, when you can expect our drivers to be absolutely on their toes in order to be able to try and go for victory. A quick reminder of the rules before we do go racing at our 2.29 mile circuit. Here we can see for the hot hatches firstly, we have one race after their qualifying session when they get 3 laps available to them over 8 minutes. But that race is 30 minutes in duration. Fixed setup, so everyone is running the exact same setup on the car, and damage-wise, we have one fast pair available should anybody pick up some damage and need to come into the pits. As for our starts, they will be standing, and as for our instant points, 17 instant points, we'll see a driver pick up a drive-through penalty, and it's every 10 after that, they'll be back in the pits for another drive-through, but hopefully we don't see that. And hopefully what we get to see is some absolutely incredible racing, and as we make our way back to the circuit side, well, how they all getting on in the final throws of this qualifying session. 2 minutes to go, everyone now on their final laps, the majority of the field on their final laps, and well, there's Tom Davidson, but meanwhile, the provisional pole sitter, it's Kieran Sharp, who's slightly ahead of Davidson, who's currently the second fastest, and we can see that Sharp a tenth quicker at the moment as he slides his way through the McDonald's chicane. Now for Kieran Sharp, of course, second in the championship as he makes his way in to this round. And, well, right now looking very quick. But as he cools and calms on down there, well, let's just give you a quick reminder of the championship standings after it's a grand total of 2 rounds racing as we briefly just look to the scenic view once again. And as we can see here in the Clio Cup with those qualifying times playing out at the bottom of your screen. And, well, we'll just clear those up, no doubt about it, ladies and gentlemen, as we do see all the drivers heading on around. Well, currently it's Andrew Pike who leads the way on 30 points, 2 wins back-to-back, but a drop score applied. And on the Sim Racing Collective Esports right ahead of his teammate of Kieran Sharp by 6 points there. And Sharp on a caught up with him in the build-up to this one, saying to be quite simply, he's hoping not to throw away a 3rd win on the season because it was a slowdown penalty at Ridskogan that cost him dear. Meanwhile, Thomas Hill sits in 3rd, the privateer, on 24 points apiece. Of course, picking up the podium in round number 1, but missed out on the podium last time out from starting 7th place. And Adrian Borowski hoping to recover that non-finish last time out, with Janos Wenzel taking his maiden podium, moving into 5th place. We do see behind the German, it's then Craig Twadop, Patrick Gallick, Matt Cheverton, Tom Davidson, and Ian Rankin completing the top 10. Although shout out then particularly to Matt Cheverton, who started from the back of the field at Ridskogan after a poor qualifying performance and had to pick up the pieces. And we do see Leo Einer ahead of James Stone Radford, Conrad Kula, Byron Forrest II, and Philip Morose completing the top 15. And outside the top 15, Julian Redberg ahead of Ben Brown, Lenny Hansen, Artin Fomin, and Michael Luke Jackson. And then completing all of the names there. Tony Preston and Jay Walsh have got points to their name, and then no points for Luciano Gonzalez, Harry Mason, Harley Butcher, Kieran O'Reilly, and Alan Duhick. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'll run through the standings there, and this qualifying session pretty much now at its close. Indeed, all drivers there coming towards the end of laps. Well, we do see all drivers will now be taken back to the pit lane. It's Kieran Sharp at pole position, and without further ado, let's make our way to that grid, and let's see how they all line up for the one and only Sim Racing Collective Hot Hatch Trophy race here at the Oschersleben circuit. All the drivers make the way onto the grid, and this is how they'll line up. It is Kieran Sharp who takes pole position, and a brilliant effort from him, no doubt about it, in the Clio Cup car for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, and he'll be joined on the front row of the grid by Tom Davidson. The pair lock out the front row for their team, albeit no team's championship here, of course. Now, row number 2 is going to be Thomas Hill, the privateer in the company of Craig Twadop for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, and then we'll see Adrian Borowski starting 5th place there. The privateer started once again on that 3rd row, but can he push his way back onto the podium? Janos Wenzel had a taste of the podium last time out, that 3rd place finish. Simagic. What can the German do from 6th place there? And look how tight it was between him and Patrick Gallic, who was only a 10th behind, starting 7th there for Mr. Apex Motorsport. Of course, Mr. Clio Cup there, the presenter of the Strength for Field race of the Clio Cup. He's looking to try and use all the advice he's gathered over the years to try and push his way forward, with Philip Moroz taking his best qualifying performance, starting in 8th place. Then we see from the Russian driver, then starting in 9th, it's going to be none other than the pro tip Ian Rankin, who's going to be quite happy with that performance, ahead of James Stone Radford of the Dogs. And then we do a Harry Mason starting 11th there, his teammate, with Ben Brown for Owned Racing completing your top 12. Outside the top 12, in 13th place, it's Jay Walsh, the privateer, ahead of Lenny Hansen for Wheelchair Racing. And then the last try to set a lap, Tony Preston will start in 15th place. And then we do see behind them Andrew Pike, who didn't set a valid lap, nor did Julian Rehberger for Mr. Apex Motorsport. So big shot there. Championship leader starting 16th on the grid, but Andrew Pike will be looking to try and carve his way through the field as quickly as he can. And Julian Rehberger as well for Mr. Apex Motorsport will be looking to do the same. And we are waiting for the last couple of cars to make their way onto this grid, an extended grid of 17 drivers here today for the Hot Hatch Trophy Support Series, and they're almost all ready to go. And everyone absolutely itching to go green flag racing, no doubt about it. And we're just waiting for the last drivers to get into position, and they are almost there. In fact, they all are. Here come the lights. And so as the revs begin to rise, it's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5 lights. And it's lights out, away we go for our Hat Hatch Trophy race as their round number 3 of their season gets underway. Kieran Sharp has a good start there. Tom Davidson, meanwhile, not having as good a launch. And Thomas Hill looking for a move already. Now Hill going from what was 0 Point Racing to none other than the privateer outfit coming into this round. But right now he's pushing onwards there either way as they make the way in towards that braking zone. And right now coming through the corner here. Will Thomas Hill have a change of team, but it's not changed his enthusiasm. Attacking Davidson hard, but as all the drivers make the way out turns 1 and 2, you can see all the field now segueing its way on through. And look, coming up behind, that's Craig Tward looking up the inside of the Napa Racing Machine. That's all going to work out there. A little bit of a squirrely boat now and braking from Hill. And I think just being caught out there by the presence of Craig Twardock, who definitely got his elbows out nice and early. Ian Rankin attacking Philip Moroz for what is 8th place. And is he going to have an opportunity here to steal it away? The answer is going to be not quite. It's to fall back in. Meanwhile, Moroz trying to attack Patrick Gallic, but they'll stay as they were as they now make the way through the triple left and in towards that long right-hander of turn number 9. But going all the way through, and we can see a big run wide there for other drivers. Actually, Alice Venzel taking a trip out wide. The 3-1-3 drive won't be waiting to make that mistake again. He's going to put him in a 2-wide situation here, which he will lose out to Philip Moroz in. And Venzel falls all the way from 6th to 8th place with one small mistake there. And will try to get himself back together once again. But look at Twardock versus Hill. And Thomas Hill on the inside here as he makes his way in towards turn number 12, and as he does so, well, here comes Adrian Borowski. Borowski, of course, working with Hill in race number 1 of the season, all the way back at Stetson, as they tried to stay with the rivals in front of them. It's not quite working out here today so far as they come in towards that braking zone, and here they go. Oh, there's contact between Twardock and Hill. Hill coming in very hot at the braking there, and well, survives it. Twardock also carries on from behind, and that's going to cause a big concertina here as Adrian Borowski and Patrick Gallic go side by side. And who's going to get the upper hand out of the two of them here? Well, whilst they're all fighting, the top two are bolting away. So after one lap, well, that's not your leaders there. Your leader is Kieran Sharp, and there's Tom Davidson with him. And then you've got a 3-second gap back to Hill, followed by Borowski, and then Gallic, then Moroz, then Venzel, Twardock, Rankin, and Stone Radford. They complete your top 10. The best of the rest of the 11 is Ben Brown, who'd love to be a part of this. But go through the long right-hander right now. You can definitely see behind as well. Jay Walsh is having a good run as he goes on the attack. He lost the place at the start, but right now the privateer looking to try and come back as he gets ready to attack, albeit side by side with Lenny Hansen, and the wheelchair racing driver on the inside here versus Walsh on the outside in the bright yellow and black machine. You can see behind Andrew Pike trying to pick his way through, and well, somebody's gone very wide there. Who's taking a trip? That's the 3-1-3 of Janos Venzel, who's gone down, and even further down the order right now. He's pretty much bottoming him out at this time. And well, as these drivers make the way into the triple left again, and we see such close fighting. Oh, there's a little bit of contact there, I think, between two of the drivers. Craig Twardock definitely feels some contact, and Harry Mason gets the car back together there. The all bright red, the Dogs machine. And was there contact or not? Well, either way, we saw two Clios go very sideways there. And well, definitely a bit of a scary contact if that was just mistakes from both drivers. But remember, of course, you're loading up that car as much as possible for the triple left, and therefore the rear is going to come very loose very quickly. Craig Twardock looking to go on the attack then versus Janos Venzel, two big stars on the field last time out. Of course, keeping in mind the game plan for the Sim Racing Collective drivers at Ridskogen was to essentially form a top 3, which was Sharp, Pike, and also Venzel, and they just pulled away as Craig Twardock meanwhile got his elbows out and really battled hard with Matt Sheraton. But right now they're going to be fighting a bit lot further down, those two are, as here we can see a move from Harry Mason looking to try and get the inside of Hansen. Is it going to work out? The answer is no, but definitely showing his intent as they come towards the end of lap number 2. But there is going to be a move by none other than Jay Walsh, and Harry Mason gets up the inside there, and the number 16 driver making a very decisive move to move himself back back into 12th place. But here they come down the start finish straight. Janos Wenzel on the inside there, and this is all at the back of the field right now, fighting for the scraps of points, but there's a lot of action there, less at the front. We will come back to the front shortly, as we can see Jay Walsh hold his ground versus Mason Twaddock and Wenzel. He has got some very stiff competition, and Craig Twaddock trying to go inside to outside there for the opening 2 corners. Doesn't quite work there. Very similar corners to turns 1 and 2 of Rudskogen, which you'll be familiar with from the previous round, but of course a much flatter circuit this one. Very little elevation change, if any. And that really does differentiate the 2 circuits, plus also the fact this circuit's reliance on so many extended sweeping bends and the fast-flying nature of it. This is one of the circuits where momentum is absolutely key. But looking back to the front of the field, Kieran Sharp and Tom Davidson together. We're looking at Davidson right now, still chasing as we ride aboard with your number 42 driver. Ran a bit wide there coming out of turn number 7. Hops and skips over the curves down McDonald's, and as he makes his way through turn number 10, well, right now, is he going to be a bit of a McLovin situation, or is he going to be a bit of a McHayton situation? Because I think the problem will be for Davidson at this point in time is as much he can stay with Kieran Sharp, I don't think he can get that much closer. And I think that's the struggle he's experiencing right now, is the fact that Sharp just seems to have all the tools. Plus also, of course, he doesn't have the problem of dirty air washing over the front of the car. Davidson does. He runs very wide there coming out to turn number 12 and almost losing the rear of the car on the gravel. But coming out to 13, he's working as hard as he can to try and stay with Sharp. But remember, the more you push these Clio Cup cars, the more you wear the tyres down. As we are hearing from Patrick Gallick in the build-up to round number 2, when I caught up with him, he was saying to me the fact that in these cars, you need to get them rotated and then push the throttle. You don't want to be aggressive with the throttle, as otherwise you will destroy the front tyres before you've even made half the race distance. Big slide there from one of the drivers, and that was Tony Preston. I think had a bit of a moment, and Preston in the lovely green Dogs machine. The privateer as represented, make his way down the start finish straight, and we'll lose it out there versus Twaddock. Meanwhile, Lenny Hansen battling out the inside of Jay Walsh, and with the air definitely get his elbows out to make that happen. It does make it happen, and meanwhile looking around the outside, that's going to be Janos Wenzel trying to carry it all the way around the circumference of the corner. On such a wide line there, you're going to be understeered out, and you won't be able to carry the pace. As Jay Walsh flashes his headlights there, and I think that's Morse code for I want that place back. I think he feels as though he's been inconvenienced by the wheelchair racing 69 machine, and well, Hansen goes very wide there. Whether that was out of respect or not, I'm not quite sure, but I think Hansen there been a bit sarcastic, returning the favour by flashing his lights. But either way, both drivers right now definitely seeing a little bit of red mist descend. Coming through the corners, well, this quartet absolutely still glued to each other. Meanwhile, the fight for 3rd place, let's come back up the order, and here we do see Thomas Hill holding his ground, the privateer in the 196. As he makes his way through the corners, and right now staying absolutely pinpoint precise. But of course, Adrian Borowski, no stranger to following the leader here, as these two do battle, and here they go in towards turn number 11, as they do. Will it be a move up the inside from Borowski? No, he just threatens it. He doesn't quite commit to it, but they are 4 seconds off the leaders right now, so it looks though that break may be what's exactly needed for Sharp and Davidson to consider fighting a bit later on. Kieran Sharp, of course, looking to take that first win of the season. Davidson looking to try and take his first podium, and meanwhile Thomas Hill trying to return to the podium. And understanding these scores very similar coming into this round, as we did see from round number 1. However, that's with the drop score applied. And 1 round is dropped over the course of the season, so you get 1 chance not to have a good day in the office, whereas your other 4 need to be absolutely pitch perfect. And here we go, going down the straight. Oh, there's contact between the two of them, and Hill forced out to the right. And as he makes his way on through in towards turns 1 and 2, Adrian Borowski there trying to go for a space that Hill was trying to gently close. And Indian Adrian Borowski now starting to show his fangs, as meanwhile, this is Patrick Gallick's on board here, the 5th place man, 3rd player in the trio, and he's bringing with him Philip Moroz and also Ian Rankin. And well, suddenly we could see all these drivers get very close together very soon, and if so, I suspect we're going to see a very fiery battle for that final spot on the podium, and we'll be excited for that. But we do say hello to a few of you in the YouTube chats, including there in the Motorsport UK Esports chat. That is none other than Jakub Luznak, and we say hello as well there to TSRC numbers in the TSRC YouTube chat. Nobody in the Twitch chat as of yet. Don't be shy if you are watching via Twitch. Feel free to say hello if you have access to a keyboard. Otherwise, we welcome you all the same there. And the only biting you'll be seeing, we won't bite on you in the chat. You only see biting on the brakes in. You can tell when somebody's bit on the brakes a bit too hard, because you'll definitely see their lock up of the ABS, the lock up of the brakes, because they don't have any ABS there, almost making a cardinal error. So they have ABS. The only ABS these cars have, of course, is the driver who has to modulate the brakes. But as Patrick Gallick makes his way onward, no change for him at the moment. As meanwhile, Harry Mason's had a bit of a run wide coming out of McDonald's. And, well, right now he's going to be feeling a bit of pressure there, but I think he's turned that pressure around. They've got Jay Walsh and Craig Twardock to fight each other behind him. And, well, Walsh is going to look around the outside to inside here. It's a smooth move. Can he get it done? He's forced up onto the curb there. And Harry Mason being legal the way he's defending. Walsh wasn't fully alongside, so couldn't quite go for the move. And in the end, Mason made sure to tell him, you've got to back out this one, otherwise you're going airborne. Here comes Twardock up the inside, throws the car in. Well, too wide these two go right now, coming out of the corner. And Twardock really getting stuck into the fighting, but it's going to be challenging. We must give a shout out to our 17th place starter of Julian Rehrberger, who unfortunately has not made it to the grid for this one, so a non-start for him. So we've only got 16 runners, but to be fair, as they always say, quality is always ahead of quantity, and we have got 16 drivers out on the circuit right now, and they are delivering some quality hot hatch racing, no doubt about it. But as they all come through here, and indeed, we're not even 10 minutes into this race, I suspect tyre wear is going to become a bigger and bigger factor as we go deeper and deeper in. And I hate to imagine what Craig Twardock's tyres are going to feel like at the moment. Those fronts must feel very hot already, and well, as he makes his way on around the outside there of turn number 3. Lovely line there, and leaving to Harry Mason for the dust, essentially the momentum he's brought off the corner. Well, Jay Walsh again having another go at this round the outside. Triple left. Is he going to be able to make it work for turns 4, 5 and 6? The answer is going to be maybe. Still there, but in the end has to back off, and that outside line that Harry Mason has, he doesn't make it work out. In fact, Mason runs out onto what is the gravel that's been brought to the circuit, and with all the stone chips, that's caused him to slide a little bit wide of understeer. Well, Jay Walsh does get that done. Lovely move for the 16 driver, and a brilliant battle between them. Meanwhile, coming to Andrew Pike, and remember, he started from the back of the field as well, down in 16th place. He's now up into 8th as he goes up the inside of Stone Radford. His next target will be Ian Rankin, 3 seconds up the road, and the pace of Pike is such that he's in clear air. He's not quite on the leader's pace, but he is matching 3rd and 4th place. He's matching Borowski and Hill, and we should point out that Adrian Borowski has managed to get ahead of Thomas Hill off camera. We will get a replay of some of the big moments very shortly. We haven't forgotten about that. We're just staying glued to a little bit of exciting action for a little bit longer as we complete the first third of the race. Going down over the timeline right now. Well, Pike will know he needs to make a break here, otherwise the furthest he will go will be 8th here today, and this will definitely feel as though this is the round where things have gone a bit astray. We're looking back to Harry Mason, still attacking Jay Walsh here. Here they come towards turn number 1 for what will be the 7th time of asking. Looks at the inside, and, well, is it going to be a good move for him? Well, yeah, Jay Walsh is going to go very wide on the braking deck, carry too much momentum, recovers the car. Mason gives him the space to recover, but Walsh does have a slowdown penalty for cutting track limits, and, well, that's awarded by the iRacing stewarding system. We have no live stewarding in effect for these races today. We're due for all rounds of the season. It's all done post-round, but the iRacing stewarding system does not discriminate. Whether you've been elbowed off the circuit, whether you made a mistake, if you cut the course, you've got to give the time back. And Jay Walsh in the end, well, he's going to get some time back on Harry Mason now. Mason making his own mistake there at turn number 3. Too wide to come in towards triple left, and the Dogs trying to go around the outside to hold it, but Walsh on the inside takes a lot of curb. He causes himself to understeer wide. Does he keep it on the road? He does just about. Jay Walsh there absolutely on the limit, and Harry Mason goes around the outside. He doesn't make the mistake this time in making that move happen, and Harry Mason will finally take that 13th place. But brilliant battle between him and Tony Preston. I think he's got something to say about it right now. He'd like to help out his fellow Dogs driver of Harry Mason. I think Jay Walsh would prefer that he doesn't get involved. But as we look to the front of the field, and the gap between Sharp and Davidson is gradually growing. Now to 8 tenths as they complete this lap. Of course, it will come back down on the straight, and then to open up potentially through the corner. Should Sharp be able to maintain his pace? Well, let's take a look back at some of the big moments from the start of this race, ladies and gentlemen. So this was how it all began as we look to the blimp camera here, and, well, the blimp slightly obscured by the tower there with regards to our pole sitters, but as they made the way away, well, they very quickly roared the way down towards turn number 1, and we'll see the solar panels gradually disappear away very shortly. So a good start from everybody involved, and as they made the way into that opening braking zone, there they come into a full view, and it was Davidson versus Hill really there, but Tom Davidson went to the inside-outside line to hold his ground, and after that seemed to be absolutely set, albeit Hill wasn't going to back out. So what exactly was the difference? Well, it was coming up towards turn number 3. This is where we saw Craig Twardock go for a move early on, and by looking on the inside, this gave Davidson the confidence to break away, and a little bit of touch there forced Hill slightly wide, and Twardock, of course, made a bit of an error later on, but everyone was safe on through there. Also some great battling further down the field from drivers, but so much fighting going on right at the start of the race, no doubt about it. But with all that back and forth, well, meanwhile, we also got to have this happen on the open lap. And this was the difficulty between Craig Twardock and Thomas Hill in the end. Hill looking to the inside, and well, we feel that Twardock squeezed him coming through turn number 13. Albeit I think both of them will have to disagree on that one, but that's what sent Twardock down the field, and that's what caused the split at the front, as Twardock then rejoined side by side with the BTCC early Renault Laguna livery tribute from Really Williams Racing. And well, then let's see our drivers carry on. But on lap number 2, we had this for Janos Wenzel, on the Sim Racing Collective Esports driver, having a bit of a moment there. Biff slightly wide by none other Craig Twardock, who came in blazing hot into the corner. And I think there Twardock full of enthusiasm, and Janos Wenzel sadly seeing his enthusiasm dampened quite a bit. But then we also had this for Philippe Moraz later on the second lap of the race. The Pro Team making his way in towards turn number 14, and as he did so, Understeer is going to pick him up here, and he goes a bit wide, but not too big of a mistake in reality. Now on lap number 5, we had this from Lenny Hansen, the wheelchair racing driver, make his way through turns 1 and 2. What went wrong here? And the answer is, carried all that speed, and in the end we saw Tony Preston almost follow him off the road, but that's how Preston finally got clear of Lenny Hansen. And in terms of how Thomas Hill and Adrian Borowski swapped the place in around, well, this was down the start finish straight. It was Hill on the inside in the battle for third place on lap number 6 only moments ago, and in the end Borowski went from outside to inside here. Smooth move, very much door to door however, but to be fair, both drivers entitled to the space, and that is how Adrian Borowski got that move done. Brave move for him, no doubt about it, but finally sealed the deal. But with that, we make our way back to your live racing. And as we do come on back, we're now on to lap number 9, almost at the halfway point after a quick recap there of some of the big moments. And in terms of what we've missed since then, not too much to be fair. Harry Mason and Jay Walsh have broken away from Tony Preston. There they are in the fight for 13th and 14th. And meanwhile, Tony Preston are 2.5 seconds behind. Ben Brown, well, let's not forget about him. We haven't really talked about the Onid racing dry here today. But right now, pushing onwards, chasing after Stone Radford. Gets a very adventurous run there at McDonald's, carrying a lot of speed. And well, that front left tyre is definitely going to be aching a little bit more than it previously did. But the drivers absolutely having a good run of this, no doubt about it. As we also say hello to Easy Flat Racing team there, who's all set for the MX-5s. You have to wait a little bit longer as meanwhile, Ben Brown tries to attack Stone Radford. Doesn't quite work out there as they make their way through. And here comes Janos Wenzel looking up the inside. And well, I think Wenzel right now would like to get some places back if he can. Well, it's not quite worked out for him so far. Front bumper of that car definitely has been bruised and knocked in a little bit. But he's going to be losing a little bit of speed on the straights. But beyond that, these Clio Cup cars can take quite a bit of a beating. So therefore, a bit of contact is always expected in Clio Cup racing. But there'll be a fine line between what is fair contact or semi-contact, if you will, versus what is full-on demolition derby contact. And that's the line we don't want to cross. But the stewards are there for that, of course. And as our drivers make the way through turns 1 and 2, well, right now, the battle for 9th place definitely building up. As meanwhile, in ranking, looking at the inside there, the Renault Laguna tribute for Renault Williams in the mid-90s Super Touring era of the BTCC. Back in the year, of course, the team was run by Frank Williams. And, well, before they transitioned, of course, to the coffee blend livery that you see behind chasing right now. So it was a younger livery car chasing after an older livery car, you could say. And that's Andrew Pike right now, gluing himself to the back of Ian Rankin's car. Both are massive touring car fanatics. They absolutely love hot hatch racing. And once they make the one out right now, well, of course, coming in towards the McDonald's chicane. No real overtaking opportunity here, so Pike's got to try and get a good run coming out to turn number 10. You can see the car there wanted to pull very egregiously left, that front left tyre. Well, in the end, Pike's setting the car back down, but he really is biting into his tyres to be able to do this. And right now, we're getting ready to perhaps attack in towards the two curves. The medium speed chicane at turns 11 and 12. What's it going to be here? Takes all the curving, plus plenty more, and does the same through here. They hop and skip their way through, pretty much going up to two wheels for a brief moment. But Pike right now just cannot find a way to clear Ian Rankin. Rankin, to be fair, hasn't necessarily had exceptional results in terms of headline grabbers, but if he holds Pike behind him for the remainder of this race, that in itself will be a huge achievement. But you only need to give one sniff at opportunity to Andrew Pike, and Rankin going a little bit wide out the final corner. This is where Pike's going to go for it. Too wide they come down the start for this straight, and as they do, Pike on the left, Rankin on the right. Rankin, of course, will have the inside of the first corner, but it puts him on the outside of the more important corner. Pike scoops around the outside. Will he get stopped to the brakes in time? The answer will be yes, just about there. I was hesitant to say yes for the first moment. I thought he was going to understeer a little bit wide and Rankin was going to pop into the space, but in the end it does look as though Andrew Pike is able to control it, and I think Rankin, as much he wanted to, even his front left tyre there was struggling to force the car back into that internal space that's available, and I think tyre wear out is starting to become an increasing challenge. for these drivers, but great racing between them. Janos Venz will be, well, still feeling the pressure to pass Ben Brown and James Stone Radford or Craig Twardock, his long-standing rival from earlier in the race, now coming back right behind him. So Twardock has fallen down, but he's not out of this race, and there's still more to come. Also, Jay Walsh and Harry Mason, they are still fighting over 13th place, it should be said. They are non-stop fighting. And, well, we look forward to seeing a bit more from them in due course. But right now, it does seem as though things are cooling down at the top 3 at least. And more of the batting is with regards to the back end of the top 10 and outside the top 10 as well. That's sometimes the way it goes. Of course, that does not eliminate the thought that we might see some more batting later on in today's race. But here we go then. Janos Venzel right now having to go a bit defensive versus Twardock. And Twardock looking around the outside. He's already had one incident here today with Thomas Hill. Hopefully he won't want to see another is what his thought process will be. Goes around the outside. Venzel then gives it the space. And Craig Twardock makes that move count. Remember, they're both Sim Racing Collective Esports drivers, but there's no team championship here. But I get the feeling they'll be on the radio. I think Craig will, in a very limited number of words, you could say he's a bit of a Kimi Raikkonen of the TSRC team, in the fact that he's a man of one-word answers sometimes, but at the same time as well, it'll be a simple one, which is, I am faster than you, let me go. And, well, Janos Venzel's not going to argue with that if it helps both of them attack Brown and Stone Radford. Right now, at the front of this group, James Stone Radford for the Dogs in 9th place. Well, if he holds on to this will be one of his best performances of the season so far. He is not in easy company. But as he comes in towards lap number 12. Meanwhile, back to the front we go. And here is your lead pair of Kieran Sharp and Tom Davidson. Gap right now, 1.1 seconds. And then you've got 6 seconds back to Adrian Borowski, who has dropped Thomas Hill after passing him. And Hill right now finds himself in an increasingly isolated 4th place. But he may have some company from Patrick Gallic and Philip Moroz to join him soon. And Moroz here really doing well. And he's had a bit of a frustrating season so far, has the priority in the 812. Round number 1, things didn't work out. Last about things didn't work out. But right now, things are working out very nice. If he gains one more place, it'll be his first top 5 of the season. And how about that for a turnaround at the midway point of the season? We'll have to wait and see if that's the way it's going to go for him. As meanwhile, Ben Brown for Only Racing comes right around. And, well, he has been passed by Craig Twardock off camera. So Twardock right now has made up another place. And, well, look at the body language of Twardock's car there. Pretty much cutting the whole of turn 9. That being legal, of course. If you do touch those bollards, that's where essentially the slowdown penalty be handed to you. But the British driver right now absolutely pushing on here. This is real cut and thrust racing from the driver. Right now for Twardock, this is all about redemption and trying to get himself into 9th place. After that, he's going to have 7 seconds to close down to Ian Rankin. Something tells me that's not going to be easy unless Rankin makes the mother of all mistakes. And one standing Twardock at this point will just be looking to pick up the pieces, but you never know how things could go in the final 2 rounds. For all we know, we could suddenly see some drives really come alive in our final 2 rounds, and conversely, you could see some of the big names at the front lose out. So that's where you've got to take every point you can, even if you're having a bad day in the office. Meanwhile, these two are having an absolutely brilliantly battlefield day in the office here, as this is Mason versus Walsh again. Well, Harry Mason in the red The Dogs car versus the yellow privateer machine of Jay Walsh. And Walsh right now looking on the inside there. And I suppose she's not related to me, ladies and gentlemen, so I do not have any favouritism here, even though he shares the same surname as myself. And as they make their way to the corner, put that aside, with Harry Mason right now just glides his way to defend the inside of turn 2. And once again, Walsh is all over the back of him like a sore thumb. But the problem is right now just cannot find a way past. And now getting ready for turn number 3. And they go into towards the left-hander. Mason in the end comes into the middle of the road right at the end of that run. And, well, Walsh pinning in there until the last possible word. And there's going to be a very close little nudge there from Jay Walsh. Mason really struggling for these corner exits right now. He just cannot get up the throttle as confidently. Walsh, meanwhile, he's got the pace on corner exit, but I think there's certain parts of the circuit where Mason is quicker compared to Walsh. And I think Walsh is enjoying more of the fight. And, well, he's not perhaps as comfortable being the lead car. Perhaps he enjoys being the attacking car. Some drivers are like that. They prefer essentially to have a carrot in front of them, to use the proverb, rather than have the stick behind them. But meanwhile, speaking of a stick that he's going to beat himself with, well, Craig Twardock has picked up a slowdown penalty for track limits at the Madol chicane. And as a result, now he slips back into the hands of Ben Brown and Janos Venzel, trying to burn that slowdown. Of course, you can't see the slowdown penalties on your broadcast screens, ladies and gentlemen. We have them available to us in the commentary booth, but we reported them when we can. And, well, there's been a slowdown penalty awarded to Janos Venzel as well. They'll have to serve it within 30 seconds, otherwise it gets upgraded to a drive-through penalty. And they normally serve it on a straight or alternatively the braking zone by lifting and coasting to try and bleed off the time they've quote-unquote gained. Meanwhile, we do have also a bit of a slowdown penalty now for Harry Mason. And, well, that's not going to help out at all. As Jay Walsh is made to go around the outside. Mason there going defensive. And in the end, does get rid of his slowdown, and these two still fighting hard. Absolutely brilliant battle between them. As we see at the rear of the picture, your eyes do not deceive you. That's Tony Preston and Lenny Hansen also getting ready to go battling here. And, well, as Jay Walsh looks to the inside, it's going to be a switch back there for Harry Mason. Walsh goes in very hot. Mason looks around the outside, but he carries a lot of speed. He's not going to be denied staying on the circuit, but Jay Walsh will just about be able to hold on there. And now Mason back on the inside. These two absolutely delivering a entertainment. And we're coming in towards turn number 3 right now. It's going to be Mason charge his way back in, and Jay Walsh will have to go for the slingshot here. He will do so, and well, Walsh moving back ahead. Great back and forth between them, but Walsh actually for the first time makes a small break here. And it's the side he can hold it together. I think Mason may have just pushed himself a bit too hard. I particularly pushed the car a bit too hard there in trying to hold on to the position. I think that is now what's caused him to fall back, but we will see. Meanwhile, third place runner, Adrian Broski, now 5 seconds clear of Thomas Hill. And, well, you'll see Hill in the picture in 3, 2, 1. There he is. And as we now look to him, still being chased by Patrick Gallick, who has dropped Philip Moroz. Moroz, meanwhile, now feeling the pressure of Andrew Pike. And Pike has absolutely glided up to the back of him. Andrew Pike, the last couple laps have been high 39s. Moroz, meanwhile, it has been low 41. So Pike has been gaining a second a lap. And, well, Moroz making a mistake there at the final corner. Andrew Pike's now up into 6th place. Surely he's not going to be able to bring you home a top 5 here. If he does so, I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be a story. And I get the feeling his mum and dad right now who are tuning in, I suspect. And that'll be Roger and Angie, as always, tune on their son. Well, right now, the number 57 driver is definitely going to be doing family proud and the team proud at this point, because he is absolutely storming his way out through the field. Remember, he started 16th. The last of those who actually were able to start the race, because we did have, of course, the non-start for Julian Redberger with a technical issue with the car, something going wrong with the car as he made his way onto the grid. So therefore, they decided not to start the car due to safety concerns. And Andrew Pike right now, definitely, if he can take a top 5 here today, this is going to be one of the stories of the season. Janus Wenzel still attacking Ben Brown. Ian Rankin has dropped to them, and James Stone Radford has dropped away from them. Craig Twaddock has fallen back as well, and I believe there's been a bit of a hold up a second. There's been a bit of a moan I'm hearing in my ear with regards to both those drivers, and in fact we can get a replay to explain. So this was Craig Twaddock looking to go on the attack versus Stone Radford in towards turn 13. Well, in fact, I think, oh no, that was at turn number 11. And in the end, in that run, well, that was a very sudden event there. Can we get an on board one of our drivers? I think we can from Stone Radford. And here we go then. Now behind, I believe that was Ben Brown. And I think what's happened there based on that view, can we get Ben Brown's perspective? I think we can. This is Ben Brown's. Let's just see his perspective as well. Under braking they went. And I think what's happened there, Twaddock was destined to tap the rear right quarter panel of what was Stone Radford, but Ben Brown just added to the issue by tapping the rear of Craig Twaddock's car and giving a little bit more momentum. So unfortunately there, that's going to be a tricky one for the stewards to call. I think there's 2 incidents that have come together in one in that package, and well, it has cleared the way for Ben Brown, but of course he still has the problem of Janus Wenzel behind him, who will now be looking to pick up the pieces. Definitely been a bit of an elbows out race here at Oschersleben for our Hot Hatch Trophy drivers in the Sim Racing Collective Series, but they're enjoying themselves out there supporting the Rookie Sportscar Cup, and it's hosted by Motorsport UK Esports. And right now, as the drivers make the way through, we've not got long left in this race. 4.5 minutes to go, and well, based on my reckoning, that means we've got this lap plus another 2 on the clock. So we are going to get a grand total of most likely 18 laps here today. And right now we've got a bit quiet for the battle for the win, indeed the battle for the podium places, but we've got plenty of points up for grabs outside the podium, including, of course, the fight for 4th. And that is Andrew Pike closing at the back of this picture. He is closing on Patrick Gallick and Thomas Hill. And right now, Andrew Pike actually owns, I believe, not quite the fastest lap, but Pike is lapping in the low 39s. The fastest lap of this race set by your leader and pole sitter, Kieran Sharp, a 39.00 to nearest 100th. Andrew Pike's previous best, a 39.33. He's just set that, and bear in mind that is on 26-minute-old race tyres. So in other words, he's done 15.5 laps now, but he's done 15 laps at that point, and he has put a huge amount of wear into those tyres. He's been fighting his way through the field, and Andrew Pike has still got pace to shed. And well, if so, the British driver right now, there is no reason why he cannot believe it and take a top 5 here, but he's going to have to really dig in for this, because I suspect Patrick Gallick is already looking at his rearview mirror and thinking, you know what, I might need to now go on the defensive. As much as he'd like to take on Thomas Hill, I don't think he's going to have an answer, because here they go down the start-finish straight. We ride on board here with your 6th place man of Pike as he heads up towards turn number 1. 2 laps to go based on our reckoning, and as they head in towards the opening corner, well, what is Andrew Pike doing that others are not, and he just looks so much more confident under braking, albeit concertina effect does make his braking look a bit more aggressive than it is normally. And as they make the way out of turn 2 in towards 3, that corner exit there, that giving him an extra 10th. He's in the 10th for the back of Patrick Gallick now as they break the way to turn 3. Pike there trying to go a little bit wider, trying to ride the camber of the corner in order to be able to push out of the corner a little bit quicker, get on the throttle early, slingshot his way, carry an extra mile an hour or 2 into the triple left, but he has to wait his turn. And the next overtaking opportunity really will be at the end of the triple left here as he comes into the right-hander at turn number 7. But you see Gallick there line himself up very nice. He smooth line off the corner, puts the car right in the middle of the road. So no way through at the moment. So Pike just biding his time. He is a man of patience, and he loves racing these cars. He loves watching them in real life as well. Any hot hatch racing, whether it be from the BTCC or TCR UK. And right now Pike getting a good run off the corner, but runs a little bit wide. He's got to be careful those run wides. Goes too wide, he picks up a slowdown, but he's got that absolutely right. Here he goes. Look up the inside, and is Gallick going to come across here? No, he holds the outside. He thinks he can go from outside to inside, but Pike's going to send it on the inside here. Too wide they go in. Will it be too wide on the way out? It will be, but as they make the way out the corner, well, now it's Pike on the inside into turn 13, and this is a much sharper corner by comparison, and Andrew Pike will take that 5th place. If he can get it settled under braking out to turns 14, well, he will be done with that move, and can he go after Thomas Hill in this final lap? We've got 1 to go by looks of things, although I can't see a white flag being waved there. I wonder if we've got 2 to go here, ladies and gentlemen, because I haven't seen the white flag being waved at all. Well, we'll keep an eye out for it, and Kieran Sharp still leads by 3 seconds almost over Tom Davidson, and it's the first 5 seconds to the driver behind who completes the podium run at the moment, and there's AJ Borowski in the rear of your picture. Davidson cuts through, then there's Borowski, and it's a further 7 seconds until you do get to your battle now for 4th place between Thomas Hill, Andrew Pike and Patrick Gallick. And try to stay with them in the very rear of the picture is Philip Morose, 1.5 seconds behind. But meanwhile, we do look to Ben Brown being attacked by, we should say, Janos Wenzel. And the number 22 driver there goes deep. Wenzel tries to slingshot his way out the corner, but Brown, I think where he intended to or not, has actually put up a brilliant defense there. And that's going to hold him nice and safely as he makes way towards turn number 3. Although I think Brown's going to feel that Wenzel is still pushing. But he's going to have to go a little bit more aggressive with the brakes. He wants to get that done. He's going to have to be a bit more inventive. The Walsh-Mason battle has calmed down as well for 13th for the moment. Half a second separates those two. But we do come back to your lead in the meantime as Kieran Sharp makes his way for the right into left. And right now, only 2 more quarters of this lap. He's very close to the finish here. It is literally going to come down to a couple of seconds worth of time. We'll have to wait and see if this race is going to get called early or not. But I think we might squeeze in a 19th lap there. And it will be literally by 5 seconds if we do. Well, here he comes out the final corner. The white flag is being waved. There we see it is confirmed. So 1 more lap to go here for Kieran Sharp as he makes his way across that timeline with 5 seconds left, just squeezed in that lap, and Tom Davidson follows. But Davidson has no answers to the pace of Sharp right now. He'll need Sharp to make a mistake. There's AJ Borowski in at 3rd. Right now, bolting his way down towards turn number 1, and we'll hold on to that podium spot. He'll be very pleased with that if he secures it. But what about the fight for 4th? Well, there's Andrew Pike all over the back of Thomas Hill. Here they go. 1 more time then as they head in towards the opening 2 corners. And Hill's done well to hold on, but he goes tight there to the inside of turn number 2. He knows he has clear track to be able to do so. He does not have to worry initially. But here comes Andrew Pike right now, looking to go on the offensive. Looking one way, then the other. And right now, trying to look up the inside of turn number 3, trying to force Hill to go fully defensive. It works, but in the end, Hill just holds his line here. Literally being rode on the rear bumper by Pike. Patrick Gallick just watching this at a distance right now, probably thinking to himself, when am I going to be able to get involved? I think the answer may be never at this rate, as they make the way through the corners of turns 4, 5 and 6, but right now Pike really pushing as hard as he can. Patrick Gallick just watching, and it's 2 seconds back to Philip Moroz. Meanwhile, the battle between Brown and Wenzel, it does seem as though right now Janos Wenzel is getting close coming out of the corners, but not close enough to potentially make a bit of an adventurous pass. But meanwhile, we come back to the run for McDonald's, and there's going to be Pike on the inside, but he doesn't get it done. Thomas Hill at the end, it just about holds him at bay for now. So Pike still trying to cut and thrust his way past, but it's going to be a defence there from Hill. But meanwhile, we must leave them be be, ladies and gentlemen. As much as we want to see how their battle ends, we will get to see it in the end, because making his way through the final corner with Kieran Sharp, he was denied at Stetson. He made an error that denied him over at Skogan, but here today, he will take his first win of the season. Kieran Sharp wins at Oschersleben ahead of Tom Davidson. It's a 1-2 for TSRC. Davidson takes his best result of the season, and it's third for Adrian Brasky. Redemption for Skogan. Then we'll see Thomas Hill make his way out the final corner. I think Hill's going to hold on here as he comes on through it. Hill will take fourth place in the end. The prize is just ahead of Andrew Pike and Patrick Gallick. That'll be your top six. Philip Morose will come home in seventh place. Ian Rankin comes through for an absolutely solid eighth, one of his best performances of the season so far, no doubt about it. And then we'll see a further 13 seconds behind. Is it Wenzel? Is it Brown? And I think it's going to be Janos Wenzel who has got the move done in the end on Brown as they make the way to the timeline. That's happened, I believe, coming through turn 7 into 10. And Wenzel takes 9th ahead of Brown. Jamestown Radford, he'll take home best of the rest 11th ahead of Craig Tardok after their contact, which did, of course, involve Ben Brown as well, as we saw earlier on. Although I suspect the Shoulds will take a look at that one. And Jay Walsh, it is race-long battle with Harry Mason. He will finish 13th ahead of Mason. And then we will see Tony Preston a further 7 seconds behind. He comes home in 15th place. And then we will have Lenny Hansen a further 8 seconds behind, coming on through to be the last of your finishers. All the drivers who started the race have finished the race, all in the lead. That's fantastic to see. And what a race, ladies and gents. But my goodness, Oschersleben delivered as it always does when it comes to club and national level style car racing. And in our Hot Hatch Trophy Clio Cup machines, that was no exception. A ferocious race. Well, if you're going to be looking for a driver a day in this one, I think you'd definitely be looking at this man, Andrew Pyatt, from 16th to 5th, and he still had more in him. He almost managed to get to 4th versus Thomas Hill, but he'll hold him at bay right at the end. But as they all cool and calm them down, well, let's take a look at those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. Of course, these results, therefore, provisional in round number 3 of the Sim Racing Collective Hot Hatch Trophy support to the Motorsport UK Rookie Sportscar Cup for 2026. And as we've seen here in their round number 3 at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, brought to you on iRacing, Kieran Sharp, your winner, finally taking that first win of the season. That's eluded for so long and taking it by 3 seconds ahead of Tom Davidson. And what a very happy performance for him, no doubt about it. It's a 1-2 for the team, but meanwhile, as we can see there, in third place, Adrian Broski returning to the podium. And will the number 97 driver from Poland there, we absolutely pleased as much to make that work out. And very comfortably clear of Thomas Hill, who in the end was definitely spoiled the chance to fight for a podium spot. But he did not lose the opportunity to enjoy some brilliant battling with that late pressure from Andrew Pike, added to from the early pressure from Patrick Gallick. Andrew Pike threaded the needle between Hill and Gallick at the end, taking home 5th place after starting in 16th. What a drive from him for the Sim Racing Collective. And then we did see Mr. Apex Motorsports, Patrick Gallick, completing your top 6. Not quite having the pace to pass Hill, and not quite having the sturdy enough defensive to hold off the aggression of Pike. In 7th is Philip Morose, who had a very strong performance, his best result of the season thus far. Moving forward, not quite able to stay with the top 5, but not too far away. And Ian Rankin, a deserved 8th there, ahead of Janos Wenzel for TSRC and Ben Brown for Ownage Racing. That was your top 10. Further 7 seconds behind, it was Jamestown Radford ahead of Craig Twardock, with Jay Walsh, Harry Mason and Tony Preston completing your top 15. And your last finish of the race, Lenny Hansen in 16th place with a non-start for Julian Rehrberger. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was an incredible race, and well, to go with such an incredible race for our Hot Hatch Trophy, of course, we need to get you some post-race interviews. So bear with us, we're going to take a few minutes to do so, and we will be back at approximately, will be around about 2 to 3 minutes to get some interviews underway with our drivers. So don't go anywhere, you won't want to miss them. Just before we do cut away, of course, what will be our Rookie Sportscar Cup. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time to kick off our post-race interviews with a few of our Clio Cup drivers for the Sim Racing Collective Hot Hatch Trophy. And we're hot off of the heels of an absolutely incredible race. Joining me now in the interview room is the man who finished here in this one in 6th place. It is none other than Patrick Gallick, who joins me now. Patrick, good evening to you. What a race from yourself there. I mean, having to dig in deep throughout, constantly chasing a top 5, but in the end finishing 6th. But how was it from your perspective?
Eventful. That is the one word that comes to mind. I had a good start, went from P7 to P5. Then I was behind Thomas. I'm like, reminds me of last week. Maybe I can change it from last week. No, again, it's one behind Thomas, but I'm really happy. I did not expect a P6, and yeah, I'm delighted doing it also with 0 incident points. So I'm really happy with how everything went. The only thing that is a bit sad that I wish to have like 20 or so drivers, but I hope the race was good to watch nevertheless.
Oh, 100%. It was an absolutely brilliant race, and as we always like to say, it's the quality of the racing rather than the quantity of the drives that always makes the difference. But let's talk a little bit about qualifying. 7th on the grid. Were you happy with your qualifying lap? Because we know you're normally pushing for a top 5 start.
After off-tracking the first 2 laps, I was like, okay, I need to get a lap in, but I also need a good lap in. So yeah, P7 was good. Not optimal. I think P5, like you said, was on the table, but in the end, after off-tracking the first 2 attempts, you need to take what you get.
Oh, indeed. And, well, you took what you got in qualifying. And then in the race, of course, we did see a lot of elbows out in front of you, but you seemed to avoid the drama at the start and just settle down.
Yeah, I mean, right at the start, at a good reaction time, then I was like, for the first 5 or 6 corners side by side with Janosch. That was really fun. And then, yeah, I was settling in the race. Then something happened between Adrian and Thomas early on. I was like, maybe a collision that will lead to something, but luckily for both, they survived. And yeah, I'm really happy. This is all I can say. Really, really happy.
Oh, 100%. You sound it. And what a great result. A 6th place finish. And that's the midpoint of the season. Looking back over the first 3 rounds, have you performed as expected?
Yeah, I mean, Snettert and I got crashed on lap 1. That changes a little bit. Ratskogan is my strongest track. I was expecting a good result. Here, I did not expect a P6. So I really take it. Overall, I'm happy with my performance in the first 3 races so far.
Oh, brilliant. And of course, coming up next time, we make our way to Oran Park in Australia. Have you set your sights on a particular finish there?
Surviving. I'm not really good at that track, and the first 2 corners in Oran Park are so difficult in the Clio, so watch out there for incidents.
Oh, fair play. We'll keep our eyes out for incidents and your prediction. But with that, Patrick, just before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a mention to?
Yeah, my teammate Julian, who wanted to drive in this, but sadly he wasn't able to start simply because he had issues with his wheelbase, which didn't work or partially worked. So he signed out. He said, it's not worth it. I drive and then maybe an issue starts and I crash someone out. No, it's better to leave it, and I think it was the right decision, but would have loved to have my teammate with me in this race.
Oh, indeed. Unfortunate there for Julian, but we hope to see him back in a week's time. Patrick, it's been great catching up with you. Congratulations on the 6th place finish today, and well done on an instant-free race as well. We'll see you at Oran Park, but until then, have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, likewise.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, for none other than Patrick Gallick, very happy with his performance, no doubt about it, although thinking that Oran Park may be a bit more of a challenge in terms of the nature of the circuit, and we'll have to wait and see what his game plan will be there. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, we've got one more interview to come before we do get set for what will be none other than our main event, the Rookie Sportscar Cup, and joining me now in the interview room will be none other than Thomas Hill, who is going to be coming to tell his story, and indeed what a story it's been. Well, as we welcome into the interview, Thomas, a challenging day today, some would say, starting 3rd, finishing 4th, but to be fair, you're never too far away from a top 5 finish or a podium.
Yeah, not too bad race. Was hopefully to keep that podium from the start, but you know, a couple attempts is what we need to find for the next round.
Well, a couple of attempts perhaps to be found. Do you feel as though it was perhaps the race itself where the podium slips away from you, or was it even in qualifying?
My qualifying lap could have been better. A couple of mistakes again made. But the race, you know, I just think I pushed too hard at the start and lost grip towards the end. So.
Now, to be fair, you might have pushed too hard at the start, but you held on to fourth place. And I mean, you held up against Andrew Pike, a winner so far this season, who'd come all the way from the back of the field. That must have been a lot of pressure at the end.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. You know, he's leading the championship, so to keep him behind us is definitely what we needed.
Well, a great effort holding him back. And with 3 races complete, we've still got 2 to go. How would you say your season's been so far?
Not too bad. Hopefully to get a win this season would be great. And, you know, top it off with hopefully a podium in the championship.
Well, we look forward to seeing you chase the podiums or perhaps even a win in the final 2 rounds. But just before we do let you go, firstly, Oran Park up next. How are you feeling for the circuit?
Not too confident, but, you know, we've got time to practice, so we'll see what happens.
We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out, like you say. And lastly, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to on the broadcast?
So a massive thank you to my family for supporting me, my girlfriend for watching, and a massive thank you to Elle for constantly keeping my head in the game.
Well, I'm sure they appreciate the shout out, and you've definitely kept your head into the game today, Thomas. Congratulations on the 4th place. We'll see you at Oran Park in the pursuit of even more podium glory.
Thank you, Sita.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, for our final interview of the Hot Hatch Trophy for today, Thomas Hill there reflects on the fact it's been a sturdy showing from him, but the flip side of the coin has been as well that some time lost out over the course of the race, and therefore feeling as though there could have been a podium on the cards if he just had a couple more attempts. But still, he's learning as he goes, and he's definitely chasing those podiums in those final 2 rounds, and happy to keep Andrew Pike behind him for the championship considerations. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll give you a quick recap of who we've spoken to, and we've had 2 interviews today from our Hot Hatch Trophy drivers, Patrick Gallick there and Thomas Hill. Patrick Gallick going from 7th to 6th, and Thomas Hill slipping slightly from 3rd to 4th, but 2 very great drives, and we look forward to plenty more interviews as the season continues its way to Oran Park in a week's time. But with that, well, now, of course, that was our entree, that was our support series, and coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, will be the qualifying, and we're at the 2 races for our main event. Of course, it's round number 3 of the 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup, powered by the Sim Racing Collective and supported by official prize partners Simagic and Phil. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in approximately 3 minutes' time for the build-up to what is round number 3 of the Rookie Sportscar Cup. We will see you again very shortly. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, for our main event. It is time for round number 3 of the 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup, brought to you by Motorsport UK Esports, powered by the Sim Racing Collective, and supported by official prize partners of none other than what is Phil and Simagic. What a race we have ahead of ourselves. The rubber has been laid down by our Hot Hatch Trophy Clio Cup machines, and now as we make our way into our main event, 2 races and a qualifying session about to get underway. And while the Oschersleben circuit has definitely demonstrated in front engine front wheel drive you can have plenty of fun under braking into each and every corner, but what about in front engine rear wheel drive Mazda MX-5s? Well, the stakes could not be higher. Indeed, what a round we come into in their championship. But as they head into qualifying, let's give you a quick reminder, of course, of the prizes they are competing for. There are prizes up for grabs, and here we can see those prizes on screen. And of course, these prizes provided by our official prize partners, Simagic and Phil. The winner taking home the Simagic Zeus Sport Wheel, including the Magic Dash, plus a pair of Phil gloves. And to tell you a little bit about those prizes that are available, of course, starting off with the top prize, well, and this Zeus Sport Rim prize, it's all brand new to the Simagic lineup, and well, with the Sport as a perfect choice for road racing or rally, it offers a dual suede and stitched leather design. And first place is taking home the Zeus Sport, coupled with Simagic's new Magic Dash, a touchscreen that mounts the wheel or wheelbase, and with full support for SimHub. Get key data whilst you race at a glance, like lap deltas, fuel, all without taking your eyes far from the road. Indeed, it is a perfect setup to feel as though you own the real racing machine, with all that data coming to you literally as you take every lap and every corner. And those Phil gloves, absolutely beautifully crafted gloves, no doubt about it. The perfect gloves to go sim racing, whereby the materials to the touch are absolutely soft, and therefore it really feels as though you're touching the steering wheel with your bare hands, but of course you've got a glove on, but at the same time as well, all what is the wear and tear that you normally associate with sim racing, where you won't feel it through your hands, because you've got Phil's gloves there supporting you every step of the way. That second place prize, where it's a Simagic GT Neo wheel, plus a pair of Phil gloves, and with regards to the GT Neo wheel, or being up for grabs there, it's Simagic's most popular wheel for a reason, because it delivers that pro-level feel racers want. Full RGB lighting, thumb encoders, and silent shifters were double clutch included as standard, and it's all at a price, well, not being paid for by, of course, our second place finisher, but all at a price in the market that punches well above its weight. It really is one of the most cost-effective wheels out there for sim racing. And as for third place, well, it's a set of Simagic P700 pedals plus a pair of Phil gloves, and those pedals rounded out the prizes. Don't overlook them, because they give you as a driver pro-level adjustability with 150kg load cell brake included as standard, and that is well beyond what many will have in terms of competitors in the market. And it's got easy expandability via Simagic's best-selling haptic reactors, a great fill-in for ABS or traction control. These pedals offer fine-tuning you'd expect from rigs costing far much more. And of course, it's not just about your top 3, because one of our drivers selected at random, there'll be a raffle at the end of the season. All those drivers who compete in all 5 rounds, one of those drivers will receive the raffle prize of a pair of Phil gloves. So plenty of prizes up for grabs, and a huge thank you to our prize partners of Simagic and Phil for putting these prizes on. Now, to talk a little bit about our format and rules, of course, for the rookies, we can see there 10 minutes of qualifying. It's currently underway. We'll come back to it very shortly. At the end of it, after 3 laps qualifying, 2 20-minute races. The first one, they line up as they finish qualifying. And the second one, they'll be lined up with the top 8 inverted from the results of race number 1. So in layman's terms, the winner of race 1 starts in 8th place. And we continue that inversion down to the 8th place finisher. They start on pole for the purposes of race 2, and those who finish 9th and downwards in race number 1, you guessed it absolutely right, they will start in the places they finished in race 1 for race number 2. The setups are fixed. There's no advantage on the setups. Everyone's running the same car. There's one fast pair available should they need to use it. It's a standing start, and the instant count is 15 instant points for a drive-through penalty, and then every 10 they'll receive another one. But hopefully we don't see any drive-through penalties. But as we make our way back to circuit side, let's talk a little bit about the championship standings as we come into our 3rd round. And there's only one name at the top with 3, what is a perfect run so far, and indeed freedom to run with 4 wins out of 4. It's EFR with Rotor Racing's Harry Fletcher, 184 points there, practically the maximum possible score. And right now, nobody seems to be able to slow Harry Fletcher down, other than what is his own pace slowing him down. But he keeps pushing faster and faster. And meanwhile, the battle for second, that is where the closest action is at the moment in terms of this championship standing. standings because Jaden Niss has taken second for the first time this season. The privateer 6 points ahead of Finley Secker, and the Drive Lounge Racing Giant, knowing he's only 5 points ahead of Connor Spruce. And the Drive Lounge Racing team definitely looking to bounce back once again, because Secker right now has had a habit of having what has been one good race and one bad race per round. And last time at Rooskogan, it was a brilliant second place finish in the first race, only to see an 8th place finish in race number 2. And it is really becoming a series of what is 2 halves for Secker, but can he finally put 2 positive halves together instead? Connor Spruce in 4th there. Will we see him return to the top 3 today? If not, he's only 2 points ahead of Ben Sieber for DCW Racing, who had a little bit of a quieter day in the office by comparison to the shouting about at Snetterton, where he brought home that double podium, but no podium for him last time out, sadly. Then we do see Max Moran sitting in 6th there for Sim It Esports Racing Team, taking home his first podium of the season in race number 2. He was absolutely over the moon with it when we caught up with the Polish driver after the racing was complete. And then we also can see there Gabriel Duchan, 86 points. Watch out for the Brazilian, looks very quick over at Kogan, but things didn't work out his way, and therefore he could always be a bit of a wild card in breaking into that top 5. James Rogers, Kira Boylan, and Mark Martin complete the top 10. And then we do see Antonin Gabrowski in 11th place ahead of Thomas Stephen, but Craig McCracken, Richard Revens, and John Short to complete your top 15. Richard Revens, of course, getting a decent result on the board last time out in one of our races, and will the Latvian driver be hoping to make it another strong showing today? Kelvin Woodhead, we enjoyed plenty of fighting with the likes of Kurt Fawcett last time out. They sit only 3 points apart, and it's Matthew Shade, Lee Robinson, and Harry North who complete your top 20, with North yet to get any points. And as we make our way behind him in the standings, we can see there Lee Rootley, Bevis Lau, also there Richie Holder and Dave Young complete your 24 driver standings after 2 rounds. But ladies and gentlemen, it's time for round number 3. We can tell you about the theory, we can tell you all about how the points have gone so far, but what we now need to tell you about is how they're getting on out of the circuit. And well, Jaden is right now pushing hard for 3rd in terms of being 9/10 off the overall pole time, but Mark Martin right now has found himself all the way up into 2nd, and well, Martin looking very quick, but the quickest driver out there right now as he makes his way through turn number 7 into 8. I do number a number of you are cheering him on here today. It is none other than Harry Fletcher as he makes his way around. And we do say hello there to Easy Flat Racing Team. And that's what EFR Racing stands for in his team name, I do believe. And we'll also say hello there to none other than Carbis and make his way on through. And we can see right now the question from Carbis saying 15 minutes ago the phrase driver of the day was brought up. Is that something in the series? And if not, can it be? We don't officially have a driver of the day for any of our rounds here. Of course, we're always happy to talk about drivers who would effectively get a Driver of the Day award. We have no official prize there, and we can definitely take that feedback on board perhaps for a future season, but there's no official Driver of the Day or DOTD prize for what will be this season. Just for the simple reason, the fact the prizes are locked in now and the awards are locked in, but of course there's always the fault for seasons ahead, so we'll definitely take that feedback on board. Thank you, Carbis, we appreciate you tuning in. As we also do say hello there to Vinty D, who is not cheering on necessarily Harry Fletcher as he comes to the end of his laps, but instead cheering on Connor Spruce there, as we see Sky Mayonnaise cheering on Harry Fletcher, and good evening to you both. We also say hello to Joey Drink, who's cheering on Harry Fletcher, and also there to Gamble Jungle cheering him on, and indeed so great to see so many of you in the Motorsport UK Esports YouTube chat. And remember, if you're enjoying the racing, why not subscribe today, so that way you can stay up to date with all the latest broadcasts that we bring to you at the Motorsport UK Esports channels. And we've got plenty planned throughout the entirety of the remainder of 2026, and we'll tell you more about that in our season finale broadcast a couple of weeks' time. But let's focus on what's going on right now. Max Ron, currently the full fastest out there, as we saw a huge jump up the order there for Thomas Stephen. And here is Thomas Stephen right now, parked on the start-finish straight. He's put his laps together, and it's been a very interesting season so far for Stephen, punching well above his weight in qualifying, but almost being weighed down by difficulties in the races. And at Rooskogan, we saw that with a huge instant early on in the racing. It definitely cost him a lot of time and places. But as Max Ryan makes his way onwards, well, right now coming down towards turns 11 and 12, and we're on this final lap here. We'll have to wait and see whether he can make his way into what will be the front row. He is only 2 tenths behind Jaden Innes at the moment, so he's working hard to see if he can craft that lap together, and he'll be one of the very last drivers to get a time in. But as they roll the way on through, well, the number 89 driver here makes his way into that final bend, and right now coming on around the corner, what's it going to be here for Moran? Is he going to be able to get himself into 3rd? Could he get himself onto the front row alongside Fletcher? The answer is going to be here as he heads to the line. His middle sector was great, but in terms of that time in the end, it is not going to be an improvement. His best was a 39.98, that was a 40.18, and with that, we do complete this qualifying session. So all the drivers have put their times together, and as we do look to the scenic view with a minute left to go, well, I do believe we are going to to sit here for the minute because a few drivers have got laps to spare, but they've decided not to use them. Well, Harry Fletcher has taken that pole position, and well, the number 66 driver there making it 3 pole positions in a row from qualifying, but the gap to Mark Martin, 7 tenths or 7.5 tenths, a bit of a smaller margin here, which to be fair you'd be a little bit surprised at given how he performed at Rookie. You would think that Fletcher would be a little bit clearer, but this shows you that whilst Harry Fletcher has been the pace setter so far this season, the other rookies, they are catching up. And that's the thing that's always interesting about the Rookie Sportscar Cup is a lot of these drivers, yes, they do have experience racing other disciplines on iRacing and on other simulators. However, they are all effectively rookies for road car racing and iRacing. And you see the slower drivers perhaps at the start of the season, they will find the pace. And that's why Harry Fletcher is such a good benchmark out there. And this is not derogatory to talk about it. Fletcher is the marked man. Everybody wants to beat him, but to beat Fletcher, you've got to get quicker. And the only way you can do it, you have to study what he's doing and learn from it and put in the time and practice. And a lot of practice going in for our drivers, no doubt about it, to get themselves just that little bit closer. But line up on the front row, it'll be Mark Martin with him and Jaden Innes and Max Moron on that second row. But with qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen, will we make our way then to the grid for the first of 2 races in round number 3 of the 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup. And we'll show you exactly how they all line up. So as the drivers make the rounds of the grid and they take their slots, this is how they'll line up for the first of 2 races here at the Saxony and Holt circuit at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. It's Harry Fletcher on pole position for the 3rd time this season in race 1 of a day, and the EFR Rotor Racing drive we joined on that front row by Mark Martin, who takes his maiden front row start. Then on row number 2, Jaden Innes and Max Moron, and behind the SimIT Esports Racing Team drive, it'll be Drive Lounge Racing's Finley Secker. He starts in 5th, looking to make amends for a frustrating end to the day at Rookie. And Thomas Stephen, he'll be looking to take his frustrations out onto the circuit. The number 4 driver, can he finally have a day where bad luck does not strike him? We will see. DCW Racing's Ben Sieber, 7th on the grid here with Connor Spruce for close company, a 10th separating the term, if that. And then we see Kelvin Woodhead with a season best qualifying point starting in 9th ahead of Anton Gabrowski. Then in 11th, it's James Rogers ahead of Kurt Fawcett for F33L Esports. And outside that top 12 on row number 7, it's going to be John Shorter, the private tip. We know we've got a few John Shorter fans in the YouTube chat. We see you. And we have Kira Boylan there for Motorsport Woman starting 14th. Richard Rebbins and Gabriel Dutra on row number 8. And then completing the starting order, it's Richie Holder and Matthew Shade. But ladies and gentlemen, the grid is set. The lights are going on for the first time here today. And it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 fiery lights. And it's lights out and away we go as they roar the way away. The green flag's waved. Oh, goodness me, somebody stalled there for about, I think that's Mark Martin's had a poor start. And what I think that's going to be Ben Sieber hitting somebody on the rear. In fact, that may not be Martin having a slow start, but Sieber's tapped somebody. And well, as they make the way down, Fletcher gets a good start. Martin under pressure from Jaden Innes. And well, Jaden Innes has to worry about Max Moron trying to make the move on him around the outside. That's brave early on cold tyres, but he may just be able to get it done as the rest of the field now escorts itself through the opening couple of corners. But everyone does seem to be safely away, even if there was a bit of drama at the start. So good news is everyone's safely clear, and now as Max Moron looks up the inside there, well, Jaden Innes is feeling a lot of pressure here as they make the way on through, and well, absolutely attacking as much as possible. But as they make the way on through, right now, coming up towards the triple left, they'll need to go into single file formation here, unless anybody feels like going for a daring move. Kurt Fawcett's fancied his chances, but so is Finley Secker. Secker looking up the inside here, and Fawcett holds the middle of the road. Oh, we've got a bit of too wide there, and that is going to be James Rogers, the Canadian, holding off Anton Gabrowski. And Grossi in the wonderful pink machine right there. All going defensive. The number 7 driver holding his ground, but Ben Sieber definitely having a bit of a scary start. We'll have to get a replay of that to see what exactly happened to him. But here they all come through the chicane, and as they do, well, all of us drivers now really finding their friends and rivals out there. Sieber finding a bit of grass as well. But coming down towards turns 11 and 12 into the medium speed chicane sequence. Well, Connor Spruce right now has gained a couple of places since the start. He's hoping to gain a bit more, but Kelvin Woodhead's right behind him. Woodhead's really picked up the pace, but Ben Sieber right now is feeling some pressure, and that front right damage I think is hurting him as Finley Secker squeezes one through. That's the most manoeuvre I've ever seen one, and well, like Moses, planted the seeds of MX-5s and make his way through. But here comes Kurt Fawcett up the inside as well. Fawcett sees what's going on and says to himself, right, I fancy a chance of that. And meanwhile, meanwhile, James Rogers does not back out. But as they roar the way onwards, well, Harry Fletcher leads then after one lap and open up a gap already, 1.1 seconds. Now, can Mark Martin stay with him and put some pressure on? That's the challenge here for the 22 driver. Of course, in qualifying, they all take to the circuit by themselves. In the race, they've got the tow for one another, and that slipstream extends all the way out to 2 seconds behind the car in front, and you do get a notable effect once you get within 1 second and closing. But as we see Kurt Fawcett fighting side by side there, getting ahead of James Rogers for a brief moment. Well, here we can see Connor Spruce and Kelvin Woodhead together, and Spruce on the low line, Woodhead on the outside, and Anton Grabowski says, can I get involved, please? But he's being dropped there a little bit as the Bulgarian driver as they come in towards the triple left. And coming through and rolling the way in towards turn 4. Very tricky sequence of corners, this one. It's really about you positioning yourself for turn 5 when you enter turn 4, and it's the same for turn 5 into turn 6. You're thinking of the corner ahead, not the one you're currently tackling. That's what makes it such a difficult sequence. But meanwhile, we've had drama for Kurt Fawcett. Oh, there's some body parts there of a car stricken across the side of the road. Not quite sure whose car's picked up the damage, and I think we have an answer. That's Gable Dutra there, and well, Dutra's been involved in some sort of shunt, but we'll have to go back and take a look at exactly what's happened in due course, ladies and gentlemen, as we still need to focus a little bit on those out there at the moment, and plenty of battling as our leaders make the way through. And right now, your top 5 is definitely looking quite settled, but it's the fight for 6th where there's a bit of a bottleneck, and Connor Spruce and Kelvin Woodhead right now trying to see who can pop the cork out the proverbial bottle and make the positions flow forward, as our drivers all going a bit wide there as well. And well, that was Jaden Innes and Thomas Stephen both taking a bit of a rallycross approach there to turn 13. They'll get away with that, but they will pick up an instant point for it. And well, too many of those, you'll be taking a drive-through penalty, but they get 15 of them before they get a drive-through penalty. So you can be a little bit cheeky. You can take some tactical off-tracks if you need to. And of course, all about exploring the road. But Connor Spruce and Kelvin Woodhead, they're exploring, battling side by side again. Going on to lap number 3. And Spruce on the outside here versus the 29er Woodhead. And he's got the grip there. He's got the drivers coming on to what stage right. That's Thomas Stephen who's made an error there through turns 1 and 2. Has he made that of his own volition? Well, either way, he drops all the way down to 9th place. Ben Sieber trying to make a move around the outside of him, and a good fit with caught him there as they make the way through. But Connor Spruce right now on the inside again, and Woodhead's not finding himself being able to break away as we now look back from Woodhead's car. Oh, goodness me! And in the end, I think being a bit of contact there, and well, we only caught that angle, and suddenly Woodhead and Spruce drop down the order. In fact, Connor Spruce loses out all of it, and Gabrowski and Seka part the season amongst them and squeeze the way through. Well, bit of drama there, and absolute madness going on. But as they make the way through, of course, win the madness, it becomes method. And right now, Ben Seal's got to try and find a method to pick his way through in a car that has definitely got some sizable damage on it. As meanwhile, Anton Gabrowski and 52nd goes side by side. There's contact between the two of them. They get caught on each other, and both cars come to, and both try to put the brakes on. And coming out of the Madol chicane there, both of them doing the right thing, both being gentlemen racers, and immediately getting the brakes on, letting the cars decouple. And remember, once you start to ride door to door at each other, that is where you've essentially got to put the brakes on. These cars, when they get caught on each other, much like in the real life Mazda MX-5 car, they essentially glue to each other a little bit, and then after that it's really about both drivers settling down straight in the steering. As under braking, well, that's Max Brown being a bit too late on the brakes there, tapping Martin on the rear and saying to him, can you go a bit faster please? I think Martin will have appreciated that, as the gap to Harry Fletcher is now 3 seconds as they go on to lap number 4. There you can see Fletcher off to the right hand side of your camera. He'll be in the foreground for a brief moment. He escapes the camera before it focuses on him, and meanwhile Max Brown and Mark Martin right now side by side, but it will be Moron around the outside to inside here, and Jaden Innes follows on. So I think we are going to have a three-way fight for 2nd and 3rd. And it's going to be essentially the fight for the final spot in the top 5. The Connor Spruce currently leads out of Siebert, Stephen and Woodhead. But is it going to stay that way? That's the question. Now, meanwhile, we have had a black flag attributed to Kira Boylan. We believe that is for a drive-through penalty for Boylan, and well, unfortunate there for her, but hopefully we'll get to see a bit more of the motorsport woman driver a bit later on today. There is, well, in fact, for Boylan coming into the pit lane as well, so a black flag and a damaged car. It may be a stop and hold penalty for some description, although we don't know the reason why, but the fast repair has gone onto the car, but Boylan definitely in a bit of woe and worry, as Harry Fletcher makes his way onwards, and then there's Max Veron, and he's got a slowdown penalty for track limits at the triple left. It turns 4, 5 and 6. He's been adjudged to have cut a corner too much or used too much run-off area, and he's got to give the time back. It's painful here giving time back because of the fact you lose a lot of momentum in the run to the next sequence of quarters, but Ron's going to do so. And well, Martin thought there he was defending, but then realises, nope, he's serving a slowdown, and Mark Martin retakes 2nd place with Jaden Innes glued to the back of him, and Innes, of course, coming off the back of a double podium at Rudskogen. Absolutely ecstatic about it, and every point matters. No drop scores in this championship. Every point counts, and well, right now, will any of these drivers be able to find a way to to steal a win away from Harry Fletcher. We'll have to wait and see. But meanwhile, Connor Spruce sits in 5th with Ben Siebert, Thomas Stephen and Kelvin Woodhead following on through, and 1.5 seconds back. There's James Rogers in 9th ahead of John Shorter. And well, right now I can definitely see that a few of you talking about the fact that whilst Shorter may be his surname, he's definitely putting a bit of a tall effort there as he makes his way down the start for the straight. And well, the British driver there in the 2:20 still keeping that momentum and doing a good job of staying with James Rogers, a good sparring partner for him out of the circuit, and two very similar on pace, and that may help them move up to the next group of cars. But as our battling calms down for a brief moment, we go back to the start. Let's find out what exactly happened to Ben Sieber when he went green flag racing. And here we go. It's a great angle for it. So he went green, and Secker just did not move there. He stalls the car, and Ben Sieber, I think Sieber's of two minds there. Do I go or to the inside, or do I simply wait for him to move? And I think his brain said one thing on one side, and his body said the other, and in the end, the two came to a half-and-half decision. This is what it looked like on board from Ben Sieber's perspective. And as he held the revs there, you're going to see the lights go out. He launches, and Secker, it's almost as if Finley Secker's car had the brake stuck on there because the brake light was still on. I think Secker had a technical issue there, and unfortunately for Ben Sieber, just mistimed coming in. Of course, he was worried probably about cars making their way into that central space, and that's where it did go a bit wrong. But meanwhile, on lap number 2, we had this for Kurt Fawcett battling at the time when none other than Anton Gabrowski, and 2 wide they went through the corner, and Kurt Fawcett being turned a bit sideways there, and well, the F33L Esports car being sent on around, a bit frustrating moment for him, no doubt about it. But indeed, I think they'll talk about that one after the race in terms of what they could have perhaps done a bit better. But we also did have some difficulty for Gabriel Dutra. Now, this was Dutra recovering the car. It was already in pieces. What exactly went wrong? And here we do get the incident. Oh, there's the explanation. So it was a follow-on effect there. He went into the wayward car of the Altitude 3M Esports machine of Kurt Fawcett, and Gabriel Dutra losing some bodywork with that. The 21 parking up there in order to make sure he didn't make contact. Matthew Shade, good awareness from him, and well, a bit of a frustrating moment for everybody involved. Then we had on lap number 3, this was Thomas Stephen. He charged his way into turn number 1 and was trying to hunt down a podium. Carried too much speed there and went very wide, and the Scotsman in the end taking a bit trip for the worst. And then after that we had this moment for Connor Spruce. Now this was an odd one because we were right on board looking back from the rear of Kelvin Woodhead's car at the time. What happened? Oh, goodness me. Now Woodhead came across a little bit there, and then there was a bit of netco contact between the two of them, and in the end, well, Connor Spruce being turned, but both drivers did a brilliant job there of straightening the cars out, and that is why they lost the places, and that's how it all changed up suddenly. Well, that explains a lot. And we did have this sadly for Finley Secker. And this was Secker then battling with Anton Gabrowski, who mistakenly identified earlier on. Apologies for that. And as they made the way through turns 9 and 10, well, unfortunately, a bit of contact between the two, got caught in each other. And at that point, both drivers straightened the cars out, put the brakes on, and then one broke away from the other. Secker managed to get clear first. And that explains the difference between them as we now make our way back to your live racing, ladies and gentlemen. And well, as we do come back there, just having a slight technical hitch, bear with us there, as I think our overlay just being a little bit erroneous. We are just going to see if we can get that fixed, and it is going to fix itself there. We apologise for that slight technical hitch on our end, not on yours. And well, as we carry on the theme of the broadcast, well, right now, Jaden Innes still attacking with Max Moron. Still plenty of race to come. And as they make the way out to that final corner, we still got half this race to go. And Max Moron right now holding off Innes and Mark Martin. But I get the feeling this is going to be a battle that goes back and forth between them. Moron definitely digging in here as much as he can. But Harry Fletcher now, 9.5 seconds clear with half the race to go. And again, I think we're seeing a theme much like we saw at Snetterton and we saw particularly at Ridskogan last time out, which is if Fletcher is able to take that lead and you can't stay with him and you start to battle the drivers behind, he will just disappear off into distance. He has got a pace advantage, but we are waiting to see whether a driver can just hook onto the slipstream behind him. And if so, it'll be interesting to see how the dynamic of the race plays out. But definitely right now, the fight for second and third has taken the priority for these drivers here. As we do see the eyelashes of Mark Martin's car, definitely trying to glimmer there. And we'll see if we can get Jaden Innes to blush, but I don't think Jaden's going to blush to those eyelashes as they make the way on through. And well, definitely a looker is Mark Martin's car, no doubt about that, ladies and gentlemen. And well, if he wants camera time, he's earned it with the look of the car, I can tell you that. But the liveries that Solo Drives put together, absolutely inventive. Alas, I'm getting distracted now by the absolutely beautiful looking livery of the 22, but all our liveries are looking fantastic out there, to be fair. And meanwhile, going a bit further back, Ben Sieber, despite that contact earlier on, he's now up in the 5th place. So Sieber has picked his way through quite recently, doing a good job of that. as he makes his way on down. Well, right now we can see Spruce, Woodhead and Stephen behind, but here comes Thomas Stephen looking to recover his way into this one now. There is potentially a podium available to him if he can cut his way through this field quickly enough. A bit of a run wide there for one of our drivers. I think that was a journey being made there by Spruce. And well, as they come through turns 13 to 14, Stephen's just got to pick them off one by one. He knows he's got the pace to do it. He started 6th, therefore he's got a good chance, but he's definitely going to have to think a little bit more outside the box to make moves here as they head down the straight. Now we should point out for Kira Boylan and Gabriel Ducha, they are both still in this race. They are now classified a lap down. Ducha's car has been repaired after its extended tow time, and Boylan did have that stop and hold penalty in the pit lane. We're not quite sure what for, but we do know that she has served it and is out there racing. In the rear of the picture, there's James Rogers, making his, well, being passed there by John Shorter, and James Rogers was the car that we mistakenly thought was Gabriel Antonin Kabrowski there. I was to get my names in the right order, apologies for that. And well, in fact, it was James Rogers who was caught up in that contact with Kurt Fawcett earlier on. But meanwhile, we come back to the fight here for second place, and Max Ron, Mark Martin, and also Jaden is still there. And well, these three together. But John Shorter make his way past what was none other than one of his rivals a little bit earlier on, but now finding himself under pressure from Richard Revins, and Revins going on attack there, and we see a request from Jakob Lusnak saying, show us the John fighting, and we hear you, don't worry Jakob, we've got him on screen right now, and he's enjoying himself out there is John, albeit losing a place to James Rogers, but still more places to potentially come back to him a bit later on in this race. He's just got to get his head down here and keep that momentum going. And in terms of how we did see James Rogers make that move on him, we saw it on the straight. We're going to replay of that shortly. As meanwhile, we've got more fights there between Spruce and Woodhead. And Kelvin Woodhead on the inside to outside there. And Kelvin Woodhead now up to the 6th place. And well, Bensley were trying to drop the group as Thomas Stevens still trying to fight his way past. We're running the way through the corners. These drivers absolutely enjoying the scrap out there right now, but I think they look in front of them, and they probably think there's even more points to be bagged there. You can see Siva is trying to pull them on to the battle for second place. He is 2.2 seconds behind at the moment, so Siva's got a little bit of work to do, and he's also got to hope the fight for second, third and fourth does really start to become a bit more of a hold-up for the top three, rather than what is just some staying pace. As Thomas Stephen loses the rear of the car again, and the Scotsman there, I don't believe it's bad luck, and unfortunately just a bit too much momentum, and the car goes round, and when he goes to get it turned around, but that's going to take a long time, and that's going to drop Stephen all the way down to 12th place. It has not worked out for Thomas Stephen at all, and well, just pushing so hard in the end, and it's come back to bite him. There you can see him in the rear of the picture, but Richard Revins and also Anton Gabrowski have both got through, and right now, well, for Thomas Stephen, he's got to regroup, he's got to mentally reset himself. That's the only way he can move forward at this point. This is going to be definitely a test in mental capability for Thomas Stephen, which is a huge side of racing, whether it be in real world or on the simulator. But as Finley Secker also follows. Secker, of course, with the bruises from earlier on, whether it be at the start, also as he midway through the race after that contact of Anton Gabrowski. Well, right now, definitely trying to keep that Mazda together as that front bumper, I think, is being held on by screws only on the right-hand side from the driver's perspective. But meanwhile, we come back to the fight for second, and here they are, making the way down. And, well, Max Braun, Mark Martin and Jaden, it is together. 3 seconds clear of Ben Sieber for now, at least. But understandably, that could all change a little bit later on, and it all comes down to how much more fighters they're going to be. Already Max Braun having that little bit of contact with Mark Martin, pushing him through this very corner, but I think that was more of a misinterpretation of braking zones there rather than any malice meant. And right now, the Simit Esports racing team driver just seeing if he can hold on. He's got this lap plus another 3 to go, base I reckon. It is going to be tight on laps, and as they roar the way down right now, well, Moran, you've got to think, with the way he's running this, I think Mark Martin really is, I think he's trying to gauge how to run this at the moment. Mark's not been in this position so far this season where he has been in with a very good chance of podium, and I think part of his mind right now is actually saying, focus on staying with Moran. Do not attack him yet, because if you attack him, you bring Jaden Innes more into the picture, and that is how Jaden got his first podium at Rudskogen. He played it smart, he waited until everyone started fighting, and then he picked the right targets. And there's a mistake from Martin. Here comes Innes. He's doing exactly what he did at Rudskogen. See an opportunity, go put your foot in the door, and right now go through the triple left. Well, Mark Martin is not going to be any easy picket here for the Canadian driver, defending as much as he can, and Innes in the end, well, he's going to back off there. They're coming on through, and right now Mark Martin will know. He makes one error, and Sonny Innes will be there. And the Coody Academy machine right now going on the attack in the number 2. Meanwhile, Ben Sieber, he is getting closer to that top free group. And right now you can see there, Kelvin Woodhead and Connor Spruce are following him. I think they're both egging him on at this point, saying, Ben, go, go, go. We're not going to fight you. I think both are thinking that way. This is where these rookies are now learning how to pack race. It's such an integral part of MX5 racing. You'll see it in the IMSA Sports Car Championship Support Series, known as the Global MX5 Cup. And you see it here. When you're in a group of cars and you can see a group in front of you starting to fight, you want to work together for as long as you think is right in order to get there. But not if Ben Sieber's going to make a mistake like that. Runs a bit too wide at 13. But as he gets it back together, well, collecting the car back on. That's going to cost him just a little bit of momentum. 2 laps to go then. And right now, Harry Fletcher leading his way on through. In fact, we may squeeze him free. It's going to be so tight. But right now, leading away. 15 seconds clear of Max Ron. But the EFR Rotor Racing driver absolutely flying high. And, well, much like the football team there that he supports, Devin feels as though he's going to be scoring a huge goal at the end of this one. As drives roar the way onwards. We've also got fighting further down. This is James Rogers and John Shorter coming together here. And right now, James Rogers trying to hold off Shorter. We haven't missed this one as Richard Revins gets on the back of the pair of them. And Rogers at this point, I think, thinks to himself, how do I get rid of Shorter? Well, the thing is, you don't. He comes back at you when he wants to. Because we see that time and time again. Of course, John having a nightmare day in qualifying. Evans going, but the nightmare continues for both. As it's going to be Rogers with a spin. And John Shorter gets caught on the back of his car. Doesn't have any time to react. And it sends both rounds, and Richard Revins out of all this has now been to 8th place. He started 15th, has got to 8th, and then just stayed out of trouble. But a heartbreak there for both John Shorter and James Rogers. What exactly happened? Here's a replay to explain. And so as they made the way through the corner, watch James Rogers' car. He's going to lose the rear here on the exit. And already Shorter has come out the corner and hit the rear of him. There's no time to react there for John Shorter. He was already putting his throttle down. And James Rogers in the end being turned. And unfortunately, at that point, well, both cars getting caught to each other. That camera angle in the end, you can see Rogers drops off the exit curb. Shorter's got the power down. He cannot react to that point. If he puts the brakes on, the rear of the car will come loose. If he keeps the throttle down, that happens. He's got no middle ground. And sadly, the two coming together just like that, and a heartbreaking moment for them. But with that, we do have to return to your live racing, ladies and gentlemen, as we do such an unfortunate moment there. And, well, a bit of commentator's curse perhaps there, some of you are asking, and indeed, just as we're taking a look at him, all going very wrong. But meanwhile, it's the way it goes. And to be fair, I will put my hand up in this commentary booth, ladies and gentlemen. I've had quite a few commentator's curse moments this year so far, and, well, I don't mean to inflict it on anyone, but I do apologise there if they do have commentator's curse. Meanwhile, oh, what's happening in the rear of the picture there? And that is Kelvin Woodhead going for a spin, but meanwhile, let's focus on the foreground. Max Warren having to go defensive there versus Mark Martin, digging in here. And, well, this is the final lap right now. I can't see a white flag outside my commentary booth window. Unfortunately, I cannot see the start line flag procedure position, and therefore it does mean that right now we're at the whim of essentially keeping an eye on what's going on when we do get to the final few corners. But Max Warren right now having to defend as much as possible. Mark Martin and Jaden is still there. Ben Sieber is now with them as well within a second. But as they all coming around, it's proving to be such a tough race for so many drivers at this point. And the fights can go the distance as well, being pushed through the chicane at this point. That is how much Mark Martin feels as though he's got the pace here to try and attack. But the problem is that Martin's picked up a slowdown for track limits through the McDonald's chicane. And, well, that's not worked out at all for him. But as they make the way onwards, meanwhile, we can see that Jaden Innes will squeeze through. But meanwhile, coming out the final corner, this is the final lap. And it is going to be Harry Fletcher, who continues his win streak. He took pole. He will make it 5 in a row. But who is going to be second? Well, I think there's only going to be one here with none other than Mark Martin losing out with that slowdown penalty, and he's headed off track. Well, Max Brown, it hasn't been the cleanest race, but to be fair, in a wounded Mazda MX-5, the Simagic Esports racing team driver will come home in second place in the end, and it will be third for Jaden Innes. They both return to the podium. Ben Sieber, oh my good lord, what's happened to Sieber's car there? Well, as he comes across the line, he will take fourth just ahead of Connor Spruce. Kelvin Woodhead will come home in sixth place. What a drive from Kelvin there. His season best performance so far. Mark Martin with a heartbreaking seventh. Richard Revins comes through for pole position in race number 2 with that 8th place finish. Then we Thomas Stephen ahead of Anton Gabrowski, and then we will have James Rogers come through in 11th there, best of rest ahead of Kurt Fawcett, who comes on through after a frustrating start to the race. Finley Secker as well takes home 13th after difficulties. John Shorter there, well, the commentator's curse struck the British driver. He takes 14th, and I take responsibility for it. And meanwhile, we do look to Richie Holder, and we haven't really had a chance to talk too much about Richie, to be fair, but right now he's out there. He's had a bit of a difficult race, has Richie, but he's just trying to survive to the finish. We have got Gabriel Dutra coming to life line. Kira Boylan has already finished the lap down. We didn't quite catch her catch the finish, but we do catch Dutra there a lap down after a huge shunt at the start with none other than Kurt Fawcett. And then here comes Richie Holder, making his way on through the last couple of corners. And to be fair, ladies and gents, whether they finished as the winner or 30, they are the last place finish on the lead lap, including Richie Holder. Give them all a round of applause. An incredible race, that one. Plenty of fighting for it. I mean, we were spoiled for choice. And Richie Holder, in the end, is still going to get to the finish line, and he will see some points. Good on you, Richie. That's what we like to see, as he does come through to the finish there in 15th. And, well, gets himself set up now for race number 2. But my goodness, as we do look to the scenic view, what a race that one was. And sadly, we won't be able to get some replays of what happened right at the end there, because we are on a very tight schedule. What an ending, no doubt about it. And let's take a look at those provisional race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. I suspect these will be considered provisional for some time. And here they are, ladies and gentlemen. And as we can see, after what was a great display for pole position in qualifying, Harry Fletcher ran away to take the win by 18.5 seconds ahead of Max Veron. And the EFR Rotor Racing driver will demonstrate, and after making the initial break from Mark Martin, that in the end, with all the fighting for second and third, it was going to be a cruise to the finish. And he absolutely delivered a brilliant drive, no doubt about it. Max Veron there taking second place for the Simagic Esports racing team, and his second podium finish in a row now. Can he continue these podiums? Because he's definitely grafted them out one by one. And, well, he held off the pressure towards the end of the race from Mark Martin and Jaden Innes. And Innes back on the podium. He may not have had the perfect qualifying lap, but he definitely showed he's got the pace there to be on the podium when it mattered most. He was 1.5 seconds behind at the finish line, with Ben Sieber fighting his way forward in the end, despite the damage picked up with what was the strike with the stationary standing car of Finley Secker. But Sieber, even in a damaged car, taking full place there for DCW Racing, only a 10th ahead of Connor Spruce after Sieber's car was in pieces right at the end of the race, and Spruce not able to steal that place away. Kelvin Woodhead there taking a season best result in 6th place. Congratulations to Kelvin for that. And we did see Mark Martin and Richard Revens complete your top 8. Martin taking his best result of the season, but it could have been a podium, to be fair to him. That's what he was hoping for. And Richard Revens there, an 8th place finish. The Rev Racing driver, his first top 8, and with that 8th place, he will be your pole sitter for race number 2. Thomas Stephen, 9th there, and I just cannot believe his misfortune, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, I don't know how many ladders Thomas Stephen has walked under in his life, but if he has walked under a few of them, how many? Because he's just not having the luck so far this season. And Anton Gabrowski completing the top 10. Behind Gabrowski, James Rogers, 11th there, who won his battle early on with John Shorter, and in the end, between the two of them, there was none other than Kurt Fawcett and Finley Secker. And then we did see Shorter in 14th place, heading your last lead lap finisher of Richie Holder, and it was a lap down for Kira Boylan, also Gabriel Dutra, and of course we did see a 3 lap down retirement in the end for Matthew Shade, I do believe due to a technical issue with the car. But that was just race number 1, ladies and gentlemen, and we have got another race to come very shortly here at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. And this is the perfect time, if you hadn't had the opportunity yet, to step away and perhaps give yourself a bit of a top-up liquid refreshment. If you're sat there thinking to yourself, well, you know what, all this intense racing action and, of course, the heat that we're experiencing right now, particularly if you're based on the European continent, I believe we've had a heat wave for the last 2 weeks in the United Kingdom. I think we're seeing it across the board globally right now in the European continent. Well, this is the perfect opportunity to give yourself a top-up of water or your choice of beverage, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic. We don't judge here. And right now for our drivers, some of them will be in the pit lane cooling down. Others will be carrying on out there, including Mark Martin. And I think for Mark, what he's doing right now, and again, I'm not saying he's doing this, what I think he's doing is he's getting the adrenaline to calm down. Because if I was in Mark's shoes at this point, unless he's a really cool-headed guy, and to be fair, he could be, I would be seething with the fact that I've just missed out on my first podium of the season. It's all because a slowdown penalty firstly, and an incident that we didn't catch on the broadcast camera that spoiled his chances of being right in the back of that pack at the end. So I think he's out there to try and calm himself down, but also to remind himself he can lap quickly at Oschersleben. And it is a confidence thing you do when you're in those positions whereby you may be able to take that first podium of the season and then you lose that chance to do it. It hurts you massively. It is an absolute gut punch, and that's why I would get the feeling that he's probably thinking to himself right now, get my head down and just keep pushing on. But as all these drivers continue on around, Bruce as well, we definitely had a race filled with ups and downs, as we do see Richard Revens there giving us a big spin, and well, he'll be hoping to get the spins out the way now, because he will not want to do that knowing he starts on pole in this one. And well, just to remind you, Rudskogen, we saw Harry Fletcher take the win in the reverse top 8 race. But remember what happened early on in the race. We had that huge instant as Ben Sieber there goes for a spin out the final corner. They're all spinning out of it at the moment. And, well, hopefully not making a habit out of it. But maybe you may remember, we did see that huge battle at the front that Sonny ended up with a huge instant for turns 3 and 4 a couple of laps in. Fletcher was well far enough back to be able to evade the instant and take the lead. Will we see fortune favour our quickest driver out there, or is this going to be the race today where Fletcher is going to carve his way past the drives? Of course, he always planned to carve his way through, but he's had a little bit of fortune on his side at Rudskogen. That's not denying his pace, no doubt about it. But if somebody at the front could get everyone to line up, it could be a very different race. And that's what we wait to see as it's time to make our way to the grid, ladies and gentlemen, for race number 2 here in round 3 of the championship, brought to you from Motorsport Arena, Oschersleben. And so as the sun comes back out, and we now shine the spotlight on our grid once again, here's how they all line up for our second and final race of the day. Richard Revens takes his first reverse top 8 pole position for Rev Racing, joined on the front row by Mark Martin. Row 2, it's Kelvin Woodhead and Connor Spruce, ahead of row 3's Ben Sieber and Jaden Innes. Behind the DCW Racing Drive, it'll be Max Baron for Sim It Racing Esports team, and then we will see the EFR with Rotor Racing pole sitter from race 1, and your winner of race 1, Harry Fletcher. Can he make it 6 wins in a row? Thomas Stevens starts 9th ahead of Anton Gabrowski. That's your top 10. And in row number 6, it will be James Rogers and Kurt Fawcett. Row 7, we do have the combination there of Finley Secker and John Shorter. And it will be on row number 8, Richie Holder and Kieran Boylan. And behind the Motorsport woman driver, it will be Gabriel Ducha and Matthew Shade. And that's how all of our 18 drivers will line up for this one, ladies and gentlemen. They'll all be absolutely itching and ready to go once again very soon. And we look forward to seeing how it will all go down between them all when they do go green at flag racing. But with that grid almost set, we're just waiting for the last couple of cars to get into position. An absolutely packed grid once again. It's going to be interesting as we also give a shout out in the Sim Racing Collective at YouTube chat to It's0FV, who is cheering on at Gabriel Dutra, and we'll get Dutra starting all the way down in 17th place, and he'll be looking to try and make his way forward. We know he's got the pace, he just needs to have a little bit of fortune on his side. One car left to get into position. We're just waiting on, I think it is Matthew Shade, who of course had that jump start at Rudskogen in race 1, but did the right thing, and that was because he jumped the start so early, he just powered his way through the field before the race went green, and he got out of trouble for that one, and everyone commented on that one afterwards. And right now, all these drivers just waiting for our final car to take position. Of course, they have 2 minutes to wait on the grid. After that, the lights go on regardless of who's taken to it, and I think we might be missing Matthew Shade from this one, unless he takes his spot. Max Baron there, we're just getting himself back into position very shortly, but the grid is set. The temperatures are coming up, no doubt about it. Your weather here today, 40 degrees track temperature in centigrade, 24 ambient. That is hot, no doubt about it. This track surface right now, that's why drivers are spinning. It's because it's such a warm circuit. As soon as you hit 40 degrees in the centigrade, you do suddenly find that grip levels become very precious indeed. But right now, everybody very eager to get the heat down on the tarmac and go racing. So here we go, the revs rise. So the final time today, it's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go. And as they do, well, it's a good start there for Richard Revens. And meanwhile, slow start there for what was Max Rod, having a very poor start off the line. He loses some places. And as they head up towards turn number 1, well, Harry Fletcher on the inside. They see the rear of the picture. But Vinny second being turned around before he's made the first corner. Oh, it's a domino effect there in the rear of the picture. But meanwhile, Richard Revens and Mark Martin getting elbows out. And as they make the way through turns 1 and 2. Oh, it's going to be Harry Fletcher on the outside. They try to take a wide line. Oh, there's a big check up there. And that is Kelvin Woodhead checking up. And with it, a couple of drivers go to the back of him, and Harry Fletcher's turned. Fletcher's turned sideways there and clipped on the rear by the car. I think that's Anton Gabrowski. And, well, this may be the bad luck that's finally found Fletcher. And, well, some good fortunes found others. But Fletcher's definitely now going to be in a wounded car, and we'll have to wait and find out what's happened there. But as all these drivers make the way through, Mark Martin right now with Connor Spruce. Well, your top three are trying to break away, and there you see Ben Seaman, Max Ron, and it's a 2-second gap to Jade Dennis. This field has definitely shuffled out, not the way anybody expected it, alone here in the commentary booth. And meanwhile, Kurt Fawcett and John Shorter, Gabriel Dutra and Kira Boylan complete that top 10 at the moment, but it is an absolutely dramatic start to this race, no doubt about it. And what I can tell you that we do have a total bits for Kelvin Woodhead and James Rogers, whereas everyone else is carrying on as best they possibly can. No meatball flags for those who have got damage out of the circuit at the moment. The meatball flag being the orange circle surrounded by a black background, which says that you need to come into the pits within 3 laps that are being awarded to you. Otherwise, you will be disqualified from the race unless it's the race finish, for the simple reason you've got a car that is unsafe to race. But meanwhile, as that's going to be a big mistake for Richard Revens, who's gone round that 3-week power through, but he's got it wrong as well. The lead has slipped out of Revens' hands. He's had to tow to the pit lane, and Sonny at the end of an absolutely crazy opening lap here. It is Connor Spruce who leads now as Mark Martin and Ben Sieber follow him on to lap number 2. You could not make this up. Jade Dennis sits in 4th, and then it is Max Moran who's chasing him right now. But it looks like instead of the damage, he's going to be past it down towards turn 1. Kurt Fawcett here, he fancies his chance. He sees there's a road in the middle that's not being closed off, so he says, why not go for it? Oh, and Moran comes across, and they're going to come together to the barrier they go. And I don't think there the 89 driver heard the call from his race spotter, would have said he was in 3 wide. I think he still thought he was 2 wide there, and unfortunately, he gets caught, so does Fawcett, but they both carry on. John Shorter, meanwhile, now picks up all the pieces. And as they make the way up towards what will be turn number 3, well, right now, the 220 driver here definitely will finish his chances at a top 5 finish. Although Gabriel Dutra, well, remember what I said earlier on, starting from 17th place, he's now up into 6th place. I think he's going to be looking at his, what will be his relative inside the car shortly, and the team will be saying to him, yes, Gabriel, you're almost into the top 5, keep going. And right now, this is definitely proven to be one of those races where anything can happen, and in motorsport they do say anything can happen, and it normally does. We are certainly seeing anything happen here today. But Harry Fletcher right now in his EFR Rotor Racing Mazda, that definitely is looking a little bit crumpled at the front. Well, up the inside of Finley Zachary goes. Do not count Fletcher out, of course. He has got a damaged car, but it's only going to hold his pace back. It's not going to hold back his enthusiasm. And if fighting like this breaks out the front of the field, well, you never know where it could go. As that's Connor Spruce there, defending versus Mark Martin to take the lead off of him, and does so. Through the medium speed chicane, it turns 11 and 12, and now coming up through into the final 2 quarters here. Well, this has been a lap number 2 where the field has definitely spread out, but right now there's still fights out there either way. And as they make the way through, well, coming up towards what will be at turn number 1 here, and Mark Martin right now on the inside. Ben Sieber's looking at this as well, and the DCW racing team will be absolutely over the moon if he can take the win here today. Mark Martin back on the inside, and well, does seem as though Martin right now, the quicker of the 2 drivers when he gets his head down to the ground. We saw that in race number 1. In fact, he was able to make the breakaway, but right now at least he is caught in this pack as leaving the pit lane there. That is Kelvin Woodhead, who comes out a lap down at this point, but he has got himself raced again, but he has picked up a black flag. However, I believe that will be for speeding on pit exit, and if so, for Kelvin, unfortunately that is another trip to the pit lane. There's no way that can be waved away, sadly. That's all done by an automated judging system. But as we do see Jaden Innes with John Shorter and Gabriel Dutra behind. We look back for the rear of the number 2 car, and well, right now Jaden Innes also feeling some pressure here. Shorter having an opportunity to take his first top 5, and indeed it will be a huge result if he finishes inside the top 10, let alone the top 5, but he will want the points there that are available to him. They're all wearing wounds and scars from what's happened in the opening laps, but right now those scars are definitely not stopping them from going at full racing. Jaden Innes there goes a bit wide. Here comes Shorter on the inside in towards the McDonald's chicane. 2 wide they enter, they give each other the space. Shorter's still there as he takes a very tight line, and in the end, it just gives him all the space to play with, and that's as they make the way into the background. In our foreground, it's Mark Martin on the inside of Connor Spruce. Here they go. And through the right into left, and in the end, who's going to get the upper hand? It's going to be Mark Martin. No, it won't be. They make contact, and suddenly Ben Sieber, we sees it all part in front of him, and right now he picks up the lead. So suddenly John Shorter finds himself into 3rd because Jaden is just in front of him still, and Gabriel Dutra there now in full place. And Dutra at this point, he's probably thinking to himself, is this going to be a race whereby everyone just retires himself out the way for me? Well, we have to imagine what could happen there as John Shorter runs a little bit too wide. And coming out of turn 14, he's got to be careful of that. But right now, everybody really racing on the limit here. And sometimes it's working out, sometimes it's not. But that's all part of the rookies. And of course, that's what we have to bear in mind here. These are rookie races. So therefore, mistakes can be made, but they always learn from them. Although I don't envy the stewards after this race. I suspect they will be a bit busy this evening, and they may need to get some coffee out. But as Kurt Fawcett goes attacking versus Kira Boylan, well, Boylan as well, cut all the way from 16th to 5th. And, well, Kurt Fawcett riding at the back there of Boylan's car as quickly as he can. But right now, Kira's doing a brilliant job defending, even with a bit of a discontinuity there with her internet connection, but knowing where to position the car to make sure that Fawcett cannot gain some ground. Meanwhile, we do see Martin make his way on through. He's now got Connor Spruce and Harry Fletcher for company. The two of them had that coming together, of course, and now Fletcher gets himself involved here as best as he can. He wants an opportunity to get into the picture if he may do so, but right now the West Ham United fan there, proudly displayed all over the car, of course. Ooh, definitely looking to try and look for a move as best he possibly can. Sees the inside. And well, here he goes there versus Connor Spruce. Sees the doors open, gets the power down. I don't think Spruce is going to have an answer here, or will he? Too wide, they make the way into the chicane. And Fletcher has to back off there on the inside 9, going flat out into the corner. That would kick the car into the air, and then most likely see him come down and understeer out and potentially collect Spruce's car. But Fletcher right now over the back of Spruce, and here looking for an opportunity to try and take that 9th place. Oh, but it's buying some space for Mark Martin to stay safe now. Onto the base he goes. Fletcher throws it up the inside. Will now Connor Spruce do the same behind? No, he won't. And Harry Fletcher does move into 9th place. So another place gained. Fletcher still a way away, though, from what is your leader. 14.2 seconds is the gap to Ben Sieber. Can he close it down with 13 minutes on the final lap to go? We will have to see. But meanwhile, Richard Revins, after what was looking to be an absolute golden run, well, now he finds himself on the back of Anton Gabrowski. Both of them a lap down. Indeed, a race that's gone from good to bad to disastrous for the Rev Racing driver. Albeit still fighting here, and they're fighting over some precious points. And Gabrowski there has no answer to Revins, who gets the better run coming out of turn number 3. But here they come in towards the triple left, and as they do, well, Revins right now just holding his ground there. Gabrowski quicker through the triple left-hand sequence, but Revins holds track position, and therefore Gabrowski cannot exactly push his way through, but he has to react there and put the brakes on a little bit earlier than planned. Kira Boylan, Kurt Fawcett and Max Ron, we come back to them as they fight over 5th place. And welcome through the left-hander triple left themselves now. Well, you can see there Fawcett goes a bit wide, understeer creeps in. He'll have the inside in towards turn number 7, but can he defend it? As Ron's going to have to go all the way around the outside to make this happen. The answer is going to be yes, Fawcett can. He can defend on that inside and does it absolutely lovely. So, and now as he makes his way through the McDonald's chicane, he just simply holds his position a little bit longer as Kira Boylan tries to run away, runs very wide there coming up the corner, but just about keeps it within track limits. As Max Ron now comes down the hill, and as he does so there, looking to the inside, it's going to be too wide between him and Fawcett. Fawcett comes across but finds the Polish driver there, and from right into left they go. Fawcett's still there on the inside, and well, I think he will have received some tutelage from his altitude at 3M Esports teammates. Of course, a very professional esports team at some of the highest levels in the sim racing sphere on iRacing. But right now, their rookie driver definitely learning from the best out there and learning as he goes. And racing is all a learning experience. Every lap you turn, you can always learn something new. Some great battling between them. As meanwhile, we do look back to the front of the field. And here is Ben Sieber going on to lap number 6, with Jaden and John Shorter following behind. But as they're battling some sides for a brief moment, we take a look back at some of the moments from the start of the race. So this is where we did go green flag racing, and well, it was a very hairy moment start. And James Rogers, John Shorter, Mark Martin, all in the theme of what was some of the moments at the start. Finley Secker as well getting caught up. So they went green, and as they did so, well, there was a little bit of initial contact between Secker and what was the car of Fawcett, and in the end, Finley Secker getting caught across. Unfortunately, that then subsequently led to was, I believe, Kira Boylan being collected as well. But can we get an alternative perspective there from what was the car of Finley Secker? I think we can. And this is what it looked like when he did go green flag racing. So a slow start for several drivers. Secker, meanwhile, didn't have too bad of a start. As he did get going, well, gradually came across a little bit. A small touch between himself and Fawcett. And then that's what sent him around to the barrier. At that point, a passenger in his car had nothing to do other than just literally try and hold the brake as long as he could. It also went wrong for Kelvin Woodhead on the open lap, albeit he made his way through the first 2 corners. As we saw Harry Fletcher being turned around in the rear of the picture. We'll come back to that shortly. But for Kelvin Woodhead, he already had some damage to the car, and in fact that damage is what put him out. So it was, as they made the way through turn 2, there was Woodhead being caught up, and he was caught up there with Ben Sieber. That's why he had the brakes on. And that explains it. And unfortunately, Harry Fletcher being turned in that instant. Can we get an alternative angle there for what happened to Fletcher? I think we can. So you'll see there, Sieber and Woodhead coming together. That's why Woodhead put the brakes on, and then the 29 drive came out wide and collected Fletcher in the process. And well, Thomas Stephen being caught up there by Fletcher's wayward car, and unfortunately, it was a whole stack of dominoes being overturned just like that. A nightmare start for so many drives, no doubt about it. We then did have this for Richard Revins, of course. leading at the time, and then Sonny covered through turn number 12, went too wide, tried to throw the car back onto the circuit, but cold tyres and gravel does not mix. To the barrier he went right at the end of lap number 1, and that was definitely a trip to the pit lane for him. We then had this on lap number 3 for Richie Holder, the priority in the 49, being chased after by Harry Fletcher, and through turns 1 and 2 he went, carried a lot of speed, and in the end understeered his way to the grass, and then had to make his way back on very carefully indeed. But we also had a bit of difficulty for none other than what was Finley Secker, only on lap number 4, a lap later, and this was the Drive Lounge racing driver, making his way through the final corner, drifted once, collected the car together, and then drifted out onto the gravel. But to be fair, did well to catch the car, all things considered. And then we had this for Kira Boylan on lap number 5. We briefly lost Boylan to the ether, and then she did return, and she did so the Motorsport woman driver. In fact, I think that might have been a bit of a discontinuity glitch there for Kira Boylan's car, because there's been no instant. But with that, we make our way back to your live racing, ladies and gentlemen. As we do come back, well, Ben Siebert still leading this race now, ahead of Jaden Ennis and John Shorter. There's still more to come out of this, and indeed, we are just over the halfway threshold now, but our battles have calmed down for a little bit. And we'll have to wait and see what is to come next. Now, we have had a further off-track for Harry Fletcher, who has now dropped down to 10th place that we're hearing. And we'll thank you for the heads up there, Jack Rowley. Appreciate it. And well, as these drivers carry on, we'll still more fighting to come. And Harry Fletcher's progress being stymied, albeit keep in mind, of course, a lot of drivers are driving with damaged cars. And depending on what damage they have, it may be damage that just stops them from gaining as much straight line speed. It could be damage to steering wheel alignment. It could be suspension damage. And well, depending on the damage, it can make the car much more prone to oversteering or understeering at certain points. And if it is suspension damage in particular, you can imagine, particularly if it affects the wheel alignment, that sometimes if it is damage to, say, the right-hand wheel side of the car, then taking left-hand corners is going to be trickier than it would normally be, because they will just not be able to turn in as easily. Conversely, they may find they get more turn in than what they want going into right-hand corners, and that's the problem they've got to worry about. But as all these drivers push on, well, Kira Boylan feeding the pressure of Max Moron behind. And well, right now, Kira Boylan, of course, going all the way from the back of the field through to 5th. Was involved in that open lap incident, or the start line incident, we should say. But to be fair, she's carried on. The Motorsport woman driver will be happy to be up into this position, but can she hold on for a first top 5 of the season? That is going to be her challenge. But meanwhile, also a change of foot as John Short has been dropped for second. Well, Jaden Ennis hold on to said spot, is attacking for the lead. Ben Sieber feeding that pressure right now as he comes through the right to left. Getting ready to complete this lap. Well, right now, Sieber will not be feeling comfortable at all. I think the game plan was make the breakaway. But of course, we have seen he picked up some damage with Kelvin Woodhead through turn 2 on the open lap. And perhaps that damage is just hurt him from being able to make his way out of distance. We'll have to see what it's to be as he heads down towards turn 1 this time. And well, Short is still 1.1 seconds back. There's no reason why the 220 driver cannot get involved in this. If these two really start to fight, they will ruin their race in terms they will take the time out of their race. And Sonny, you will see John Shorter there in a flash. So that's why right now Jaden Ennis has got to play a very smart game here, which is attack only when he thinks he can get this move done. Because if he can do so, he will then be able to make that jump up the order. As he attempts to give pursuit, we have heard that Finley Secker has had to be towed to pit lane due to an error. And, well, just before we take a look at that, what happened to Harry Fletcher for the second spin from what we're hearing? So this was the EFR Rotor Racing drive. Oh, took a bit too much curb there at turn number 12. And the rear of the car let go. And I suspect the damage from earlier on really taking its toll there with the way he's had to load up the rear right tyre. And the front right tyre as well, not offering him any grip by comparison with the damage around it. So it went wrong for Fletcher there. That regressed his progress. And we had this for Finley Secker only months ago. And, well, that looks to be the aftermath of an incident between him, and I want to say that looks to be the car there of Richie Holder being caught up in that. This is what happened to Richie then. We was already going slowly there through what was the triple F, so I think he's been caught up in some sort of incident, and then Secker separately has been caught up in a mistake. Oh, he was going to rejoin there, and as he's come through the corner, Secker struggling, and that explains the story there. So Richie Holder's had a mistake of some description, and Finley Secker, sadly, with the damage, has decided it's not worth continuing at the moment due to damage, which is understandable, and well, into the pit lane now, looking for repair work. But 5 minutes to go. We're in the final quarter of this race, and well, this race has been up, down. I mean, it's got more jumps in it than the regular echocardiogram. And as they make their way down towards And turn number 1 right now, well, I can imagine, also jumping up and down of his chest, it'll be John Shorter's heart rate at this moment. I can imagine, well, they do always say, if anyone wears a Fitbit or any of those smartwatches that enable you to see your heart rate while you're going racing, I can tell you one thing, normally you will see heart rates go through the roof. I know Ben Sieber's teammates at DCW Racing, a very well recognised and decorated driver in the form of Richard Simnor, wears a heart rate monitor on his watch whilst he races, and he has seen his heart rate push 170 beats per minute in the 10th system moment. So I can only imagine what it'll be like for these drivers here today as they make the way on around. Now we are having a bit of a topsy-turvy shuffle further down the order of the timing tower for what will be none other than Kira Boylan, Mark Martin and Connor Spruce. But bear in mind, we are having some slight technical issues with the connection for Kira Boylan, and that's why you're seeing it swap so often. She is still racing, but just bear in mind, that's why you're seeing that constant chop and change further down the timing tower. We are keeping an eye on that because it is a freeway fight for 7th place, and we're keen to see how it all plays out. Right now, your top 3 coming together. They have got a little bit of traffic ahead of them. Anton Gabrovski's the next car they're coming up behind. But they do have the best part of 2 more laps after this one to try and filter their way past Gabrovski in the number 7 if they can. Here is Kira Boylan with Mark Martin close behind. Martin getting very close there, trying to tempt out a move coming into the McDowell chicane. Doesn't go for it, but we see Kira Boylan there cutting way too much in turn number 9, and that is going to be a slowdown penalty for Boylan. And I suspect if she does serve it on the straight here, she's going to lose out so much time at this point, and that she's going to essentially see that play slip out of her hand. So therefore, she doesn't want to let it go. Mark Martin looks at the inside. There's a small touch. And Martin right now taking a bit of a poke there. Boylan half defending. And I think Martin there hoping the space would stay open, but not to be. As Connor Spruce right now staying glued to the side. Oh, he looks at the inside, in fact. It doesn't work out. And in the end, makes contact Mark Martin. And for Martin, this race goes to the grass again. And number 8 driver at this point, well, understandably, after this point, missed out on the podium in race 1. Well, it's going to be even more disappointment in this one now. He's definitely going to be feared as though today nothing has worked out his way after it's all looking so strong. But as we come back to your top 3, they go on to the penultimate lap of this race, as we understand it, and Ben Sieber still hold off Jaden Innes and John Shorter, but for how much longer can he hold them off? That is going to be the question that we need an answer to. Jaden Innes, of course, looking one way, then the other, and meanwhile, John Shorter just waiting. He's the dark horse in this equation, in the fact that he's just watching the wings. He hasn't got the pace necessary to threaten, but to be fair, just by being there, you are a threat to the guy in second place, and that's the thing I think that John is looking at right now. It's wait until something happens, be an opportunist. Sometimes you may be able to get 2 places for the price of just 1 instant that occurs between the 2 in front of you. You never know. And we're rolling the way into the final third of this lap. 1 more to go after this one. We will see a grand total of 12 laps as we are hearing on our timing tower. And well, as I try to make the way through here right now for John Shorter, well, he's 7 tenths behind the leading duo, but he's still in the hunt. But Jaden Innes, can he take that first winner season, or will it be Ben Sieber? Will the run of wins of Harry Fletcher be broken by the DCW Racing driver or the Coup de Academy car? Well, 1 more lap will tell us, ladies and gentlemen, because they make the way out to the final corner. 1 minute 20 left on the clock. They are going to that last lap. There's the white flag waving from Barry Flagg, who is on what is the start line today. And as they make the way down towards turn number 1, Sieber, it is Shorter. That's your top 3, and 6.5 seconds behind. In the rear of the picture, Gabriel Dutra, the Brazilian. So therefore, if he gets involved, it will be because there's been calamity between these 3, but the gloves come off now, and here we go. Jaden Innes looks to go on the attack immediately as he makes one through. Wipers on there. There's no rain. He just wants the best possible visibility. He's getting all the dirt off the windscreen as quickly as he can. He wants to be able to see a pixel-precise moment where he can attack. Will it come here into turn 3? No, not quite. Still stuck behind as they come around the corner. And right now, Sieber there. You can see the rear of the car letting go a little bit. Tyre life is feeling precious. I can imagine these warm track temperatures are not helping whatsoever. And Innes now looking around the outside into triple left. This will be a switchback. Surely. No, it's not. He's going to try and hook it to the outside. Then cuts it back into turn 5. Takes way too much curb there to keep the car settled. And in the end, Sieber calling him out on it every step of the way. John Shorter behind as well. Still looking for a move. Gets a very tight run there through turn 7. You can see what John's going for. He's waiting for Innes to make a mistake here. That's his game plan. Almost makes it work out there, but now through McDonald's they go. All 3 of them safely through. Shorter there just drifts a little bit sideways with oversteer on the rear of the car, and as he gets it back together, that causes him to fall back a 10th. But right now, Sieber still leading. 4 corners to go. All the traffic they had in front of him is clear, so therefore this is going to be a run to the end. as they come through the chicane of 11 and 12. Now it's into turn number 13. It's all about the late apex here and keeping it on the road. Right now, Ben Sieber, all he's got to do is now 2 more corners. Turn 13, he's kept that within the limits. Now into turn number 14. Innes is too far back. And as he comes out the final corner, well, somebody had to end Harry Fletcher's win streak today. But who was it going to be? Well, it turns out it's going to be Ben Sieber, who holds on by 10 for the line ahead of Jaden Innes. And John Shorter completes the podium for his first podium of the season. Gabriel Dutra will come home in 4th place in the end for the privateer from Brazil. Head of Kurt Fawcett, who takes his first top 5 of the season. What a drive for the F33L Esports driver. Then it will be Kira Boylan, who digs in deep, and she's going to be awarded as the Motorsport woman driver, taking 6th place. Her best result of the season ahead of Connor Spruce and Mark Martin. And then we will see Harry Fletcher. Well, it has not worked out here today, but to be fair, he has taken 5 wins out of 6. He's got a lot of points in the lead of the championship, and he's got to give some points up. And here today gives up with a 9th place finish. And then we will see Thomas Stephen coming on through in gradual time for 10th place here. And well, if Harry Fletcher's had some bad luck in race number 2, this man Thomas Stephen, when is he going to have the good luck come his way? That is the question I think we all want an answer to at some point, because we know the Scotsman has got so much pace and talent, but right now this is proving to be a championship season so far where things have just not clicked together. Where it was a non-start for race 1 at Snetterton, Rich Kogan seen him go spin the round, or here today in both races, instance cost him the places and time. Richie Holder, meanwhile, he's still out there and right now running in 11th place. And well, for the privateer in the 49, this will be his best result of the season as he makes his way into the final corner. Good on him. The VRS driver making his way through, and he does so here. Well, there's going to be a smile on his face. Not the quickest out there, but to be fair, today it was about surviving as much as being the quickest. And Richie Holder comes through there for 11th place. Well done to him. James Rogers comes out the final corner. He will take home 12th place. And then 5 seconds behind him will be Richard Revens, who started on pole, but sadly a mistake on the opening lap through turn number 12 cost him the chance at a podium, but he still comes home 30. But still keeping his spirits high there is the Latvian driver Rev Racing, and well, he'll be happy to see the finish line. Goodness me, what a race, ladies and gentlemen. And as our drivers cool and calm down, we take a look to the scenic view and with it to the race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And as we can see, in a race absolutely jam-packed full of drama, so much so, to be fair, I think all your TV soaps that can hang up their phones because it was so much drama in there. You could break it down into multiple chapters, you could break it down into a whole highlight reel, but in the end, at the end of all the drama, Ben Sieber takes his first win of the season, and with it returns to the podium for DCW Racing, only a 10th ahead of Jaden Innes at the line, the privateer in a car that's missing its front bumper. I suspect Jaden will probably get out the car afterwards and be saying to Ben Sieber, well done, but no, if I had my front bumper, I may have had a bit of a better chance of that one. But either way, it is pushed as hard as possible. But at the same time, let's not forget about the third man who will be on this podium, John Shorter. Maiden podium, he skipped straight from finishing for the first time in the top 5 to finish it on that podium, and to be fair, did not put a foot wrong, did John Shorter, and if it had worked out slightly differently, he could have potentially taken the win. Gabriel Dutra taking 4th there, the privateer, his best performance of the season, starting all the way from the very back and just took himself out of the equation of all the madness and went from 17th to 4th place. But sometimes that's the way it works out. You never give up and you never think that you're not going to have a chance of finishing up the front if you're starting from the very back. Kurt Fawcett taking 5th place. And in the end, with the Oschersleben Esports driver, finding himself in the top 5 for the first time this season. A very happy end to the day for him. And then we did see Kira Boylan in 6th there for Motorsport Woman ahead of Connor Spruce. With Mark Martin, unfortunate for him, not his day at all today. It could have been a double podium from it, if not a chance of a maiden win. And well, sadly for him, it's all gone backwards. But he can't give up because 2 more rounds to go for Mark, and we know now he's definitely a podium contender. And let's see Harry Fletcher there, 9th after what was the open lap incident, collecting him and further spins. The EFR with Rotor Racing driver, where his championship lead will have been held a little bit, but still he is the driver to beat, no doubt about it. Thomas Stephen, 10th place there, and just ahead of Richie Holder, best dressed in 11th, where season best. And then we did see James Rogers and Richard Revens completing those divisions on the lead lap. And it was a lap down for both Anton Gabrowski and also Max Moron. 2 laps down to Kelvin Woodhead after his heroics in race number 1. Unfortunately, not to be the same here in race number 2. 4 laps down to Finley Secker, and sadly a non-finish for Matthew Shane. I do believe, in fact, a non-start for our number 21 driver due to a technical issue with the car. So a very different race number 2, no doubt about it, ladies and gentlemen, full of thrills, spills and excitement. And well, whilst all our batting out on the circuit has concluded for today, I get the feeling a few of our drivers are batting to join me in the interview room after the racing. So therefore, we're going to take a bit of a pause and we'll be back in approximately 3 to 4 minutes time for the first of our post-race interviews. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We've got plenty of them coming up. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to kick off our post-round interviews. And what a race it has been. What a pair of races we've had here today at the Motorsport Arena, Oschersleben. But we start off with a man who has broken the win streak of Harry Fletcher, who is joining me now in the interview room, is none other than Ben Sieber. Ben, the first win has come in an absolutely dramatic second race, but a fourth before that as well. I mean, not quite a double podium, but so close, and also a first win on the board.
Yeah, it was all good. I think after last week, I was in the lead last week, and I think I've managed to survive there for about half a lap. But yeah, today, I think I got a bit lucky with the incident at T1. I managed to squeak through and tried to run for the hills, but Jaden was very quick considering he had half a car. Fortunately, it's quite easy to defend there, especially against someone who's got some damage.
Oh, indeed. Like you say, a bit of damage on Jaden Innes' car. But before we come on to the absolute spectacle that was race number 2 for yourself, let's talk a little bit about qualifying. 7th in qualifying. Were you happy with your qualifying lap?
I find the track quite difficult to sort of get one of those, a good clean lap. There's so many off tracks. I think my first lap I was a bit quicker, but got an off track, and second one was a bit of a banker, and then I messed up the third. So yeah, there was more pace in there. Ultimately, I think in these qualifying is important, but I think you can definitely get some overtaking done early on. Unfortunately, had a little bit of an incident with, I think it was Finley, who didn't get going at the start of race 1, which dropped me back down to somewhere 11th or 12th. And it was always going to be a bit of a scrap to get on from there. But yeah, got there in the end, even if I couldn't see out my car for the last 2 corners.
Oh, good as me. And just on that, of course, we did look at a bit of replay footage from what happened in the race one start. Of course, he didn't seem to be able to get the car launched. And it looked as though, I think your brain had said, go left. Meanwhile, your body had said, go straight on, he'll speed up. And in the end, you sort of 50-50'd.
Yeah. Should have made one decision, made no decisions, and or probably half a decision. Fortunately, I think we both kept going, but yeah, it was unfortunate for us both.
Well, a bit of an unfortunate moment there, but still, like you say, managed to keep it together and take home that 4th place. So, race number 2, I mean, just tell us what it was like, that opening pair of corners, because I think there was a big hold up in the end, some contact as well. You're in the heart of some of it. It must have been pandemonium.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a bit of a sketchy first couple of corners there, and I can't remember who it was in front of me. Was a bit wide. They had someone on the outside, and I thought if I put the brakes on here, I'm going to get run over. So I poked it up the inside. Didn't get left a lot of room. As a spotter screaming 3 wide, everyone I think starts to panic. Fortunately, I managed to squeak through and saw a little bit of chaos unfold in my rearview mirror, which is not nice, but you breathe a sigh of relief at that point.
Oh, indeed. I mean, nobody wants to see chaos unfold, but in the end, you've got to try and survive as best you can. And after that, of course, things did calm down, relatively speaking, until the seas parted in front of you when we did see Connor Spruce and Mark Martin decide they didn't want to lead the race anymore. Yeah,
I think it was one of those ones you could sort of see it coming a mile away, and I thought I'm just gonna hold off a little bit here, and fortunately had enough of a gap to clear the 2 of those, and then tried to get my head down and run away, but Jaden in his MX 2.5 had other ideas.
Oh, I love it, the MX 2.5. Well, we'll definitely consider that with the damage to his car there. And I mean, he was constantly putting you under pressure out. You also had John Shorter there watching in the background. I mean, what was it like for the first time this season to be a race leader and having to, even though Jaden has had 2.5 of a car, having to already hold off 2 rivals who, in a way, were matching you for pace?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things you always prefer to follow. It's definitely easier, especially around a track like that. You can definitely lose a lot of time very quickly, so it's quite hard to lead that. I was hoping there was going to be some help from behind, someone having a little poke up the inside for second, but in the end, around there with the damage that Jaden had, I knew if I could just get my exits, then he probably wasn't going to have enough to fight me through corners, and fortunately he didn't.
Well, he didn't quite have the pace he needed in the end to try and make a move on you. You brought home that first win. It must have been a huge sigh of relief seeing that checker flag.
Yeah, very good, very good. Very much enjoyed that one. And yeah, a breath of relief at the end.
Well, a big breath of relief, that first win on the board. And with these points, it is very likely now going to move you into the top 3 in the championship with 2 rounds to go. Of course, it is looking still very tight for the 2nd and 3rd place spots. And up next is Oran Park. How are you feeling for the Australian circuit?
I don't think I've driven that, and this is going to age me, since Poker World Touring Cars. I think it was the 3rd one, which must have come out in the early noughties. So yeah, I'm going to have to do some practice for that one, but looking forward to it.
Oh, goodness me. I think, indeed, all of us that disposition back in the old PlayStation 1 or PSX X days, it was known. Indeed, the 3rd of the Toka game packages. Well, a classic circuit there, and Ben wants to see if you can whip out all your classic knowledge of it. But just before we do let you go, is anyone you'd like to give a shout-out or a thank you to on the broadcast?
Big shout-out to my wife. She's had some back problems, but she's doing much better now, and she puts up with me doing this when I should be looking after her. So, Louise, thank you very much.
Oh, we shall definitely appreciate your gratitudes there, Ben. Congratulations on taking your maiden win for the season and a solid pair of results. We look forward to seeing you take on Oran Park in a week's time. But until then, go rejoice and have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thanks, Paul.
So hearing that from Ben Sieber, saying a big thank you to his wife Louise there for the fact that whilst he should be looking after her, he's been given the opportunity to go racing today. And well, he's definitely seized his opportunity here at the Oschersleben circuit to take that maiden win. But talking out there the fact in qualifying, he played it safe initially, but felt as though he could have had a better lap. And in race number 1, definitely had a strong showing despite what was A bit of a dramatic start, clipping the rear of Finley Secker's car and not being able to see over the right-hand side of the car for the last couple of quarters, but in turn surviving to fourth. And in race number 2, despite it all, it settled down. He was in the lead after he saw what was coming in front of him, but he couldn't break away from Jaden Innes and John Shorter, but held on just long enough to take that win. Very pleased with it, but now having to go back through the archives of knowledge in his mind to Oran Park Raceway in a week's time. And will we see Ben Sieber up there on the podium once again? Because if so, his pursuit of second or third in the championship, if not chasing down that gap to Harry Fletcher, will definitely be taking a positive step forward. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got more interviews to come, and well, we're now going to be coming on to our second interview of the day, as we now get ready to bring him in to the interview room, and it is going to be, I do believe, none other than your third place finisher, taking his maiden podium of the season, because John Shorter does now join me in the interview room. And as we say, good evening and hello to John Shorter. John, welcome to the interview room. Your maiden podium in race number 2. I mean, how does that sound to you?
Yeah, better than I'd perhaps planned at the beginning of the evening, I have to say. Yeah, well chuffed, well chuffed.
Well, you've definitely got quite a few fans who are over the moon to see you on the podium. And just before we come to the podium, let's talk a little bit about the day in general. Qualifying, 13th on the grid, a decent lap to be fair, around where you've perhaps qualified previously, but it looks like the pace is coming forward.
Yeah, it wasn't. I was about 6/10 off what I'd done in practice this afternoon, actually what I'd done yesterday. But yeah, about 6/10 off. So I was disappointed really. Qualifying still something I need to get straight in my own head. But to be honest, in my my circuit racing past, I've always struggled a little bit with qualifying, but once I'm in the race, yeah, I tend to have pretty good pace, I think.
Oh, and speaking of that, we did see in race number 1 you show some good glimmers of pace, but it looks like race 1, as much progress as you could make, it slipped away, and there were a couple of small incidents, if you will.
Yeah, not I wouldn't say intentional. I felt like I'd gone for a gap that was there. I'd hit the apex better than I think it was James Rogers who was just in front of me. But yeah, I got the nose in, but there just wasn't enough space. So unfortunately, we both ended up out of that, really.
Oh, indeed, it was a bit of an unfortunate incident between the two of you, but still, only more motivation in to do well in race number 2. Although, I have to ask, what did the first 5 corners look like from your perspective? Because from our perspective, it was pandemonium, but I can imagine as a driver, it must have been a very different story.
Yeah, a bit like Days of Thunder. There was just smoke everywhere, tyres, smoke everywhere, really. Yeah, cars going in all different directions, but hey, that's part of racecraft, isn't it? You've got to be able to try and avoid some of that. I didn't avoid all of it. I think I caught one in the side from somebody who'd spun in maybe turn 2 or 3. But yeah, the rest of the way, it was just try and avoid it for the first lap. I kind of suspected it was going to happen. It was a very iffy start, I suppose. Cars all over the place again. I think there was one turned around off the start line, so I kind of expected that first lap to go in a way that it did, but you can't always guarantee you can stay out of it yourself, really.
Oh, indeed, there's no guarantee. You've got to be as cautious as you can and try to find the spaces like you say. But in the end, when things did settle down, despite a few bruises on the front right of your car, you found yourself emerging into the top 5 and then subsequently into the top 3. Was there a bit of a pinch me, am I dreaming moment in the car?
I didn't fully realise until probably about halfway through the race exactly where I was in terms of race position, and then I could see that there was a black MX-5 behind me that he was kind of holding ground, gained a little bit here, but then I'd gain elsewhere. And rather than focus on the mirror, I thought, well, Jaden seems to be kind of on pace with me. So maybe if I concentrate on trying to catch him, we might pull away a bit. And that's pretty much what happened. I think perhaps with a bit of slipstreaming maybe on the longer straights, we did seem to pull away from 4th place. And I kind of thought at the end that maybe Jaden and Ben might kind of get together a little bit, and I was closing them down. But it's a tricky track to pass on, to be fair. There isn't many places that you can pass safely, if there's such a thing. There's a lot of risk around that track when you go in for gaps. and I just didn't really want to spoil everyone's race. I was really chuffed with being in third.
Or fair play. I mean, in the end, playing it safe and consolidating what you've got rather than risking it all is a fair approach. And going through the last quarter, I mean, that must have felt special to see that checker flag and see your name third place in the finishing order.
Yeah, absolutely. And that final lap as well, I think there was a tail end car that we were coming round to lap, and I did wonder whether that might play into what we were going to do. I was kind of hoping that maybe the two in front of me would get a little more held up with that than what happened. But fair play to the person who was getting lapped. They did move out the way and make it a fair race to the end. Yeah, really, really pleased.
Well, I do have to ask, we've had a question come in from one of our viewers. You may know this YouTube account from Jakub Lusnak, saying, I believe here the question is, what do you think about cherry Pepsi Max?
I don't like it. I don't like it. Don't need to put flavours in Pepsi.
Now, I hate to say, but when you do go to the podium shortly, they've replaced the champagne with a bottle of cherry Pepsi Max just for you, from what I gather. But,
thanks, Paul.
But joking aside, looking ahead now, of course, we've crossed the midway point of the season. Oren Parker waits us in round number 4. Can we expect you to be back up there, at least chasing, say, a top 10, if not a top 5?
Yeah, definitely. That's the plan. Just keep putting the time in. Obviously, I missed round 1, unfortunately, so I don't feel I'm going to be there from a championship point of view. Although my aim for both races and championship would be sneaking into the top 10, and I managed a top 10 last week. I've now managed a podium this week, which is just fantastic. Although there was a big element of luck in there, I suppose. But yeah, next week, top 10 again, clean race, try and stay out of incidents like I ended up in the first race. Maybe a little more patience, but yeah, that's the plan.
Oh, fair play. A good plan to have. And just before we do let you go, John, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to on the broadcast?
Yeah, thanks to all the guys watching. I think Rich is there, Jakub's there as well. I'm not sure about the rest, but yeah, thanks very much and for all the support. Yeah, recently looking to join a team called RPMS, so thanks to those guys as well. It was good to watch them at the 24-hour at the weekend. Yeah, hopefully this is the start of something pretty special from a sim racing point of view.
Oh, fingers crossed for you. It could be a special starting point, like you say. And when it comes with a podium today, John, thank you for your time. Congratulations. Go celebrate that maiden podium, and we'll see you at Oran Park.
Thanks, Paul. See you next week.
So hearing there, ladies and gentlemen, from John Shorter, a very happy man, no doubt about it. You can hear it in his voice. A bit of a challenging qualifying session, 6/10 off of his practice time, so therefore he had to put all the points into the race. But unfortunately, an incident in race number 1, that spoiled his chances there of really being able to shine through of his pace. A bit of contact really ending both his race and that of one of his rivals. And in race number 2, well, it all came true to him, little by little. An open lap, which saw many a driver get caught out, but not John, even though he did have a bit of brush with a couple of drivers there, picked up some damage, but in the end, found himself into the top 5, then into the top 3, and only realising right towards the end of the race what was at stake, a chance of a podium. But I do like the way he talked about what he did at the end there. He didn't want to throw a move up the inside. He wanted to consolidate that 3rd place and just be there as pressure for Jaden Innes and Ben Sieber. It worked out. He knew he had a podium absolutely locked in. That's all he wanted. And sometimes you take what you've got rather than risking it all. And for John Shorter, well, if he can keep this up at Oran Park and also season 9 at Alton Park, there's no reason why we won't see him potentially put at least another top 5 out there, if not another chance for a podium. Indeed, I think everything is looking up for the British driver. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got a couple more interviews to come, so don't go anywhere regards to that, because we have got, I think, 2 more on the way. And well, as we get ready for our next interview now, I do believe we're going to be hearing from the 3rd driver who made their way on to the podium for our 2nd race today, and making it a double podium here today, because now we come to none other than Jaden Innes, who joins me in the interview room. Jaden, good afternoon to you once again, and well, from a double podium at what was Rudskogen only a week ago, it's a double podium here today, albeit a bit of an unconventional double podium, some could say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite lucky, I'd say, for the at least the 2nd one. the first one, I was just, I feel like I was on it. But yeah, I honestly, in practice, I thought I was going to be a lot further back than I was, and then qualifying went really well. So yeah, everything came together really well.
Oh, indeed. It all came together as time went on, and with regards to that qualifying points, starting third as well, and we've seen the gap slightly narrow now down to Harry Fletcher here today. You were 9 tenths off of pole, I believe, but only 2 tenths off of the front row. But there's a new name on the front row as well, in the form of Mark Martin. Were you a bit surprised by that?
Yeah, very much so. Because I saw him qualify up there, and I was like, I've never seen that name before. But yeah, I mean, it's always nice to see more people up at the front. Obviously, for yourself, it's not the greatest to see them ahead of you, but it's more competition, so I don't mind.
Well, indeed, more competition to be had, no doubt about it. And when we did go into race number 1, well, of course, we saw you start third and finish third in the end, but constantly in the thick of a fight for second through to fourth.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could have done it a little bit better there. I feel like I could have got second, of course, but the thing I was mainly concerned about was the fact that we were fighting so much that we basically lost all that gap we had to P4. And I think across the line, it went from like 5 seconds to 1.8. So at least I'm glad they didn't get in the thick of it, because I feel like it would have caused a bit of a problem.
Oh, indeed. Could have been a bit of a problematic one there, but still another podium for yourself. And well, a relatively clean race number 1. And in race number 2, as quick as the race started, the front bumper decided it didn't want to be part of your car anymore. What happened?
Yeah, I actually, for the whole race, had no idea it was gone. I knew the bumper like lifted, so I knew there was some damage, but I believe there was an incident ahead, and like a car didn't notice that another car was alongside it, so it stopped to try and get it off of its side. And then I didn't know he would just stop like that, so I just got hit. Like, I hit him in the back, and then the guy behind me hit me, guy by him hit him. So once that came out of the way, I saw that Harry got spun out, and I was like, okay, well, at this point, I'm just going to try and get as many points as I can to see if we could cut down the deficit. But yeah, I was really trying to get that win until I realized that the car wasn't turning anymore. So it is what it is. I'll take that after all the damage I got.
Oh, indeed. And I mean, you kept the pressure on Ben Sieber throughout the race, but you're also under some pressure from John Shorter. I mean, we saw what was both of you in the cool-down room only moments ago. Were you more worried about John attacking you towards the end, or were you thinking to yourself, no, he seems to be holding station, I've got a good run on Ben here as a result?
Kind of a mix of both, because as we got into kind of like an open area, I was pulling away a little bit from him, and I was gaining a lot on Ben, even with the damage. So I knew I could have at least won the race. And then obviously once I tried to actually fight Ben, I realized that the damage was just too much. And at that point, like, I was fighting him a little bit recklessly, I'd say, which kind of caused John to catch back. And then I realized that I should probably just back off a little bit and see if I could take second. So I was at the end very much concerned that he was going to pass me, but he didn't.
Oh, in the end, not too much pressure, as perhaps was fault from John, but you couldn't quite find a way past Ben, who put up the defense, and also your Mazda, as Ben referred to, I don't know if he told you this, but he's referred to you as driving a Mazda MX 2.5, given it was only half a car.
I like that. It definitely felt like that. I mean, for reference, it just felt like I was on cold tires the whole race. So I was very surprised that I gained. So I kept on pushing even harder. But obviously when the tire wear kicked in, then I realized that like I had something wrong. But yeah, I honestly did feel like I had half a car. He's right.
Oh, indeed. Half a car there. And, well, we had this question asked to John Shorter. I think this question is now going to come to yourself, which is, are you a fan of Cherry Pepsi Max by chance? Because John's not, and we've got a bottle on the podium that somebody needs to drink.
Cherry Pepsi Max. Not really, to be honest. I don't drink that many soft drinks, to be honest. Like, I'll have, like, my ginger ale or something. But Cherry Pepsi Max, I don't know about that.
Well, to be fair, I'm a fellow ginger ale guy myself, so we've got something in common there. But coming back to the racing, of course, a double podium here today, off of the back of a double podium at Rudskogen. midway point of the season's now been reached. 2 rounds to go. Oran Park next time. You're second in the championship, if my maths is correct. How are you feeling with 2 rounds to go?
I'm gonna be completely honest. I looked at the prizes and I kind of wanted 3rd place because like the pedals are like so good. Not to say like the GT Neo is great and all, but I have a Fanatec podium, so like I already have a wheel, so I kind of want the pedals. But obviously, I'm not gonna like back off for no reason and try and like sabotage it. But I kind of want those pedals. The pedals aren't the greatest.
Oh, fair play. Well, finding yourself in a bit of a bind then, whether it's 2nd or 3rd in the championship. We'll let you figure out that bind. But just before we do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to on the broadcast?
Same as usual. Coupe de Motorsport, my boys, and of course the Indian Dirt Series that they have. But nothing much more than that. They are the reason I'm here, and I appreciate everything that they do to give me a chance to win. So yeah.
Oh, what a fair play, Jaden. Well, with that, we'll leave it there. Congratulations on the double podium today. Onwards we go for yourself to Oran Park, and we look forward to seeing what you can deliver there in a week's time. But until then, congratulations on another double podium.
Thank you. Have a good one.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from Jaden Innes. A very happy Jaden Innes, no doubt about it. And, well, talking out there the fact, 3rd place in qualifying, was impressed with himself, but also shot there to see a brand new name out qualifying him to the front row. And, well, in the end, we did see him, of course, not quite have the pace to perhaps make the move for 2nd place, having to reside behind and hold on to that 3rd. But at the same time as well, in race number 2, in what was a very damaged car, as we do see on the pictures here, able to keep Ben Sieber honest all the way to the very end. And, well, sometimes that's the way you've got to do it. And, well, absolutely glued himself to the back of Ben Sieber's car to the end, but always worried about what John Shorter may have done. And, well, in the end, John not being able to make that move and opting to stay behind, prioritising what was bringing on home the 3rd place. And for Jaden Innes, he didn't quite have the pace in the car to bring home the win and spoil the party for Ben Sieber. But interesting there, the fact that he's definitely been eyeing up the 3rd place prize, but he is currently now 2nd in the championship after this round. Well, for Jaden Innes, no matter how hard he pushes, he's definitely on course, it would seem, for a top 3 this season. But he's still got 2 rounds to go, and anything can happen before the end of the season, there's no doubt about that. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to our 4th interview, and I think we are going to squeeze in a 5th interview potentially as well, given the time we've got available. We've got a little bit of extra time, so therefore do bear with us just one brief moment, as we are now going to get set to speak to the man who's definitely had a day of 2 halves, because joining me now in the interview room is going to be none other than Harry Fletcher, and we're just about to bring him in to tell us what has been perhaps his most mixed day of the season so far, and well, here we go. And so joining me now in the interview room is none other than Harry Fletcher. Harry, good evening to you, and appreciate you waiting.
Good evening.
A run of wins that has come to a halt, but through very odd circumstances today. I mean, can you believe how race number 2 went?
It's racing at the end of the day. You can see it. We are in a rookie championship. There will be incidents when you start in mid-pack. You know, incidents like this can happen. It is unfortunate. It is gutting, but we'll come back stronger in the next round.
Oh, indeed. That's definitely the spirit you do need to have there, coming back stronger in the next round, like you say. But let's then talk about the positives. Qualifying, taking pole position by 7.5 tenths over Mark Martin. We know that you love setting fast lap times out there. Over at Kurgan, we saw you take pole by a second. Were you a bit surprised that the gap wasn't as big, given how technical this circuit is?
No, not really too much. I mean, I had limited practice with the iRacing special event in the 24-hour because I was having to double practice for that as well. So I wasn't surprised to see that gap come down a little bit. Still annoyed it wasn't quite on that second mark, but yeah, it's kind of roughly what we expected.
Well, what you expected, like you say, and then of course we did go green flag racing in race number 1. Looked as though Mark was going to stay with you initially, and then the battle for second erupted, and it was a bit of a Harry Fletcher classic.
Oh, the one to get you. So yeah, that was the plan from race 1. We've had that for the whole season. It has been with my team. It's been just get pole, pull out that second gap on the first lap, and just gradually pull away. Although that battle for second, yeah, was something. My eyes were glued to that relative when I could get a chance to look down at it.
Oh, indeed, and understandable there. The worry potentially, the fact they might get a bit closer, but they didn't in the end and bring home that win. But then after that, starting for 8th place in race number 2, what happened through the opening couple of corners from your perspective, if you don't mind?
A bit. Well, I don't quite know. I haven't had like a little bit of a chance to look back at it, but don't know. Tough call. Like I thought, good, decent start. Just try and stay left, and just got a bit of a tag on the rear. Like it was just trying to dodge an accident. It's just chaos. I don't like. It's just one of those. And then once you spun rounds, there's nothing you could do there, sitting duck, and just trying to limp it home with 3 wheels. I was being told. I like my right rear wheel. Some laps it was up in the air, some laps it was on the ground, which is why I spun twice, because I was still trying to send it. I was trying to get something back, just never giving up.
Well, that's the spirit you got to have. And to be fair, we did see you try to carve your way through, but we suspected the damage on the car made it pretty very difficult to drive, and hence the follow-up spins. Does mean your win streak has come to an end, but as we cross the midway point of the championship, 5 wins in 6 races and a 9th place, you've still got a comfortable lead. Oran Park's up next. How are you feeling for the final 2 rounds?
My question is can I wrap the title up at Oran Park with the dropped points today, like in race 2? That's my question. That's the question we've been asking. Oran Park, I've done it once, but I haven't really done it too much. And then Alton Park's one at home, so it's used to seeing it on the BTCC. So I'll work from there.
Oh, fair play. I'm liking the fact you're already thinking about the maths game, taking a bit of a Colin Turkington style approach, perhaps, more thinking about the positions rather than the wins. And we look forward to seeing what you can do at Oran Park. But just before we do let you go, we know you've got plenty of fans tuning in, as always. Is there anything you'd like to say to them, or anyone who you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, thanks all friends and teammates, especially the team. We had a rough 24-hour. We had a really rough one, so try to give them a big result this weekend. Not weekend, Monday. Yeah. Mark that up. Try to give them a big result. Just unfortunate in race 2 not to be given that final one.
Well, to be fair, even though you weren't able to quite give them the huge result you wanted, I'm sure they'll still appreciate you not giving in until the very finish line, and that's what it's all about. Harry, we'll leave it there. Congratulations on taking your 5th win of the season. Sorry it didn't work out in race 2, but we'll see you at Oran Park, and hopefully we'll see you back onto the top step in both races.
Will do. Good luck.
So here and there from Harry Fletcher, and well, a bit gutted not to be able to make it 2 from 2, and well, understandably there a degree of frustration, but also, as he mentioned there, it is what it is. It is all part of racing, and well, he's going to be pushing for that top step, no doubt about it, at Oran Park. But admitting as well, in qualifying, was very happy with his lap. Would have liked to have that 1 second gap that has been his average qualifying pace delta to the rest of the field. But seeing with the limited amount of practice, because he did compete in the iRacing official 24 hours of Spa over the weekend, that therefore he'd put the priority into that rather than being able to practice here for Oschersleben. But to be fair, for limited practice, delivered in qualifying and in the race, mentioned that he was constantly keeping an eye on that relative for the battle for 2nd through to 4th. And I think the worry was there, would he have seen Mark Martin make his way onto the back of him? But in the end, it didn't quite work out that way, as we do see the 2 said drivers together here in this replay footage from race number 2, and he was able to bring home that 5th win. But of course, in race number 2, it all went wrong for the opening few corners, and in the end didn't quite know what happened, but did know that with the damage he picked up for the incident at turn 2, it was a damaged car that he was having to struggle through, and that's why he had the subsequent spins. The car was damaged in such a way it didn't feel comfortable to drive through the corners, and unfortunately for the 66 driver, that win streak has come to an end, but knows that he can potentially wrap up the championship with a round to spare at Oran Park. He's got some work to do, though, if he wants to make it happen. He's got some maths to work out with that, but we wish him the best luck as he tries to do so in a week's time. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now get set for our final interview. We'd normally only squeeze 4 interviews in, but we are going to squeeze in 1 more interview here today because he's asked nicely, to be fair, and also he's finished on the podium once again, and getting ready to join me in the interview room is none other than, I do believe, Max Moron, who we now look to there in terms of the cameras. And, well, let's bring him on in, ladies and gentlemen, for our final interview of this evening. As he does join me now, it's none other than Max Moron in the interview room with myself. Max, good evening to you. And, well, it's been a bit of a mixed day, but to be fair, I think the most important part, back on the podium once again with a well-deserved second place in race 1.
Yeah, I mean, race 1 was just perfect for me. I got my confidence back in qualifying. Qualified P4. I knew there was more in the lap time, but I just couldn't find it. Yeah, P2 is always nice at the end of the day.
Well, indeed, a solid result there. But let's talk a bit more about what you just said there. Finding your confidence in qualifying. What happened to knock the confidence out of you?
I think it's just practicing hot laps more. Obviously, I was quite busy over the last 2 weeks, so I can practice much for Snetterton and Rutskrigan, but it's really good to see that I've got the pace in qualifying and I can do good. Sorry.
No, that's absolutely fair, and I see where you're coming from. Let's talk about that race 1 a little bit, because I can appreciate you may be a bit exhausted by your hard work today. A 3-way fight for the run-up spot between yourself and also what was there, Jaden Innes and Ben Sieber. Albeit you got the upper hand in the end, but not without plenty of fighting. And Mark Martin was in that as well.
Yeah, it was a really good battle between myself, Mark, and Jaden. It was absolutely... We were just battling from corner to corner. I think the gap went down from 8 seconds to P5 to, I think it was 1.8 at the end of the race.
Oh, indeed, the gap and the margins so narrow there, but you're able to hold on and return to the podium. So you must have left race 1 thinking, well, if I can do that in race 1, I can do that in race number 2.
Yeah, I had quite a slow start after I didn't realise that my wheel was all fully turned to the right, and I thought it was just a glitch, a software glitch. So I tried restarting my wheel before the race. As soon as the race started, I think you could see it on the broadcast, but I just all of a sudden jolted to the right after the lights went out. But it was good to overtake Jaden going into turn 2, and I was very, very lucky to avoid the incident that happened in turn 3.
Well, indeed, a bit of a slow start, like you say, but then making that good move on Jaden Innes and avoiding the incident at turn 3. But it all went a bit wrong later on in the race.
Yeah, I didn't realise how close, I think it was Kurt Fawcett, how close he was to me going into turn 1, and then I tried to open up my line going into turn 1 and unfortunately clipped him, and yeah, sent us both off the track.
Now, to be fair, these things happen. It's all part of the racing, and you still kept your head down and got to the finish, albeit 15th place in the end, but still some points on the board. But did you find a bit more, perhaps, lap time out there as a result of getting the extra laps in?
Pardon, sorry.
All I'm saying is, obviously, difficulties in that contact you had, but you still stayed out on circuit and finished the race. Did you find any more lap time or any improvements as a result of putting in those final laps?
No, I didn't find any improvements. Obviously, I had a bit of damage after the contact, but it was good to finish the race. I had an issue with my PC that forced it to restart. It's good to claim that 1 point. At the end of the day, a point can go very far in the standings obviously we have 4 races left. I'll see what I can do.
Oh, good point. And 4 races to go. Next up, Oran Park Raceway. You're in the hunt for the top 5 in the championship. What's the plan?
Just practice, practice, practice. I mean, I've got more time on my hands now that school is finishing and the holidays are starting, and there's not really much work in school, so don't have to do homework when I get home. That frees up my time, which I can use to practice for Oran Park, as I've never heard of that track ever. Heading into this championship is the first time that I've heard it.
Oh, fair play. Well, definitely, if we were to give you a homework assignment, it would be to learn Oran Park before round 4. But Max, with that, just before we do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to on the broadcast? Because I do believe you have a fan in the YouTube chat in the form of Stefan, although I can't pronounce his surname there, Lujic perhaps, but I know he's been cheering you on today.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to my family and to the Simagic Esports team. I know they've been supporting me, as they've congratulated me in the Discord server and in the live stream chat. So I'm very lucky to have those people in the team and my family to support me.
Oh, brilliant. Well, to be fair, Max, you've been an absolute star throughout the round so far. Even if it hasn't quite gone right today, congratulations on your podium in race 1. Hopefully, it'll be a more consistent day at Oran Park. But until then, have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
So hearing there, ladies and gentlemen, from Max Moran, and well, a tough end today for him. Definitely a lovely chap to talk to, is he not? The Simagic Esports racing team driver. And we're talking out there the fact that was very happy with qualifying, albeit had to in the end really get himself back together, and what was rebuild his confidence. And I think that being for the fact that he'd had limited time to practice. He's come towards the end of the school season. And, well, understandably, as we do look at some of the pictures of Mark Martin's car making its way around, or some other drivers out there, we do seem to have lost Max Moran's car out on circuit. But mention as well the fact the challenges in qualifying he overcame, taking that 4th place in the qualifying order, and then in race number 1 fight his way to that podium in that brilliant 3-way fight between himself, Mark Martin, and also Jaden Innes, and then holding on for his 2nd podium of the season. Race number 2, it all did go wrong, unfortunately some contact, and putting his hand up and talking about his part in the contact with another driver, but he kept his head down and finished the race, knowing that point could come very crucial later on in the season. And he Max in the right spirit, and with more free time on his hands with school finishing, his target will now be to learn Oran Park Raceway. He's never heard of the circuit until this season. Indeed, many have not, and something tells me, I'm not going to guess his age, ladies and gentlemen, to be fair. I do know he's one of our younger drivers on the grid, but I suspect the circuit may have been literally being decommissioned at the time, potentially, when he was born or around that point. Indeed, it is a circuit that has been lost to time, Oran Park, but we'll tell you more about that in the broadcast in a week's time. So he's going to learn a historical circuit, but I'm sure he's going to have a lot of fun learning an Australian classic. But with that, let's give you a quick recap of who we've spoken to today in our interviews. And, well, here we can see we've had 5 interviews, a bumper edition. We can't always promise we're going to have time to capture interviews of all our drivers, but we've definitely done so today. We heard firstly from maiden race winner in race number 2, Ben Sieber for DCW Racing, and we then came to John Shorter taking his maiden podium in an absolutely chaotic race number 2, but he saw through the chaos to make sense of it all. Then we came to Jaden in his double podium finisher, and definitely looking to be Mr. Consistent right now for 2nd in the championship. Then we came to your championship leader, Harry Fletcher, talking about the mixed fortunes of the win in race number 1, and his win streak coming to an end in race number 2, but he kept on pushing and making sure to get every point he could out of it. And then after speaking to the EFR with Rotor Racing driver, it was then Max Moran who squeezed in at the end for Simagic Esports Racing Team, and very happy with his achievements in qualifying and race 1. Definitely building that confidence, even though in race number 2 things did not quite work out, but to be fair, excited to be right up there, mixing it with some of the very best on the grid. A big congratulations to all 5 of our drivers, and a big well done to them on their performances, and we really do appreciate their time as always for joining us in the interview room. And and we'll get plenty more interviews with our drivers in our final 2 rounds as well. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it does mean now we need to look ahead to next time, and in a week's time, the story continues. We make our way into the second half of the season formally, because it'll be time for round number 4, and we'll be making a trip back in time. We'll be jumping into the time machine. It's back to 2010 we go for the Oran Park Raceway, located in Narellan of Australia. Well, the circuit is now home to a housing estate. We'll go back in time to when it was in the era of peak Australian racing. A home once to the likes of V8 supercars and also the Excel Hyundai racing machinery, or what preceded it. Well, we'll see on Monday the 20th of July, Oran Park Raceway will be revived from the grave, and we'll see our drivers go batting there in the hot hatches and, of course, in the Rookie Sportscar Cups MX-5s. But as we do wrap up, we'd like to, as always, say a huge thank you and to all of you for tuning in today. We really do appreciate it. Regardless of the platform you tuned in from, it's been great to see so many of you in the YouTube and Twitch chats. We'd also like to say a huge thank you for the Sim Racing Collective, of course, for powering the 2026 Motorsport UK Esports Rookie Sportscar Cup and supporting it, of course, with their Hot Hatch Trophy Series. And we could not go without saying a huge thank you to our official prize partners. First, of course, Phil, and established in 2017 by the founder of the world-famous Team Redline and former head of studio at Studio 397, Dom Dehan. Phil is a pioneer of gloves specifically designed for sim racing, setting the standard for performance-focused racing gear designed specifically for the simulator. Drawing upon the experience of drivers who have had and are still competing at the highest level of sim racing, the carefully selected fabrics of Phil's gloves provide both breathability and lightweight comfort, ensuring your hands stay cool during extended racing sessions. And so if you want to keep performing at your best behind the wheel, make sure you check out Phil's range of sim racing gloves on their website at www.f33L.gg. We'd also like to say a big thank you to our other official prize partner, Simagic, the company founded in 2018 on the basis of the question, how can we bring the thrill of real racing into everyone's home? Simagic has rapidly evolved its product range into a full racing ecosystem. And whether you're looking to get your hands on steering wheels, servo bases, pedals, or shifters, every component is engineered in-house and built to reflect the company's commitment to innovation, quality, and delivering uncompromising performance when you are racing. So if you want to keep chasing poles, podiums, or personal bests like our drivers you've seen today, why not check out Simagic's range of products at simmagic.com. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, that's all we've got time for today. We've been at Motorsport UK Esports. I have been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh, and until next time at Oran Park, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.
And he gets past all of them as well. What a move for the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.